Excuse me. You gonna start, Polly? It says we're live. Welcome to Comic Book Curation. I'm your host, Polydub.
I think he's probably having mic problems again.
Oh no! Oh no! Well, welcome to Comic Book Curation. I'm your host, Inquisitor, and joining me is Bad Comic Reviews.
Hi. Hopefully Polly will rejoin us shortly. If not, this will be a short stream.
Yeah, but you know we're all good.
Hello.
There he
are.
Whatever the hell that was.
That was the absolute worst time for your mic to cut off because it went live and then it was dead silence.
It wasn't my mic. Chrome froze.
Oh. Ooh,
The moment I pressed start broadcast and it's like I think I'm live, and so I start talking and then I can hear Quiz going into his rescue mode, and fuck Chrome, man. God damn it.
Chrome is awful.
Chrome is awful. It's like, for real, it's constantly fucking freezing on me, man.
Yeah, it does it to me too.
Well, now that you're here, how about you do the intro?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation. I'm Polly, and joining me, as always, is the ever ready to jump to the rescue Inquisitor. Quiz. How are you doing this week?
My back hurts from carrying you just all the way to the finish line.
It's all right. Everybody in my life has to carry me. It's just the way that it works. And rounding out our triumvirate of awesome, and somebody who also carries me and this show, incidentally, he is Jack from Bad Comic Reviews. Jack, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing okay. How you doing?
I'm okay, I guess. I'm a little. I'm more pissed at Chrome than usual for obvious reasons.
Say just to bring it up real quick, Ebony. I use Firefox, but unfortunately, these Google Hangouts don't work in Firefox. You have to use Chrome.
Yeah,
I love you, YouTube. Mwah.
I have heard stories that people have had touch and go luck with Brave, which is like an independent Chrome fork lookalike copy of kind of thing. In a lot of ways, it duplicates Chrome, but I don't know if it does so with interchangeability with Hangouts. I have no idea. I mean, Ebony, I use a fork of Firefox called WaterFox mostly, and I'm a big fan of Firefox. But no Google Hangouts. Doesn't work. So where does that take us this week? Oh, I know exactly where I want to start, as always. The thumbnail. Yes. And there she is. Kitty Pryde. I'm a fan of the character of Kitty Pryde.
As if that's not evident with our history here. But this might be an interesting line of question. Why? Why is Kitty one of your favorite characters?
That's a good question. She was she was a character that when you look at her in her first iterations, she's not terribly interesting. Sprite was her first code name, I think.
Yep, before Shadowcat. Yep.
Yeah. When she became Shadowcat, Chris Claremont wrote her up as being somebody who had ninja training, and her phasing ability worked so well with that idea of being a martial artist, to be able to phase through walls in that way and disappear and reappear and stuff like that. It works very well. And the fact that they wrote her as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, it was way over her head, as like in the middle of like intergalactic battles, and she was written that way as she wants to be up to the challenge, she wants to be up to the task ahead, but she also has no idea what she's doing, and it comes through. And since she has an inherently defensive power or non-aggressive power, just to be able to phase through things and become intangible, like her intangibility is the way her power is described. It's not so much her powers, it's who she is. Written as always being the protected one who doesn't want to be protected. She wants to be competent and independent, but isn't. when she went over to Excalibur is when I got really interested in the character, because supposedly all the X-Men had been killed in their battle with, who was it? The Morlocks?
I don't remember.
I doubt it was the Morlocks. The Morlocks always and ever were just like a minute threat amongst like small populations, not the X-Men as a whole, you know?
Yeah, supposedly I don't remember who it was that had wiped out the X-Men. Supposedly they weren't really; they were just transported elsewhere. But Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, were all under the impression they had all been killed, so they believe they're the last surviving X-Men.
Well,
And they ended up off of Muir Island, off of
Muir Island, yeah,
Muir Island, off of England, and that's when Rachel Summers returns from
Scotland.
Returns from Mojo's realm, the Mojoverse.
The Mojoverse. Yep.
Yeah. She had been trapped there for like a couple of years, and that's when she reappeared, and that's when they formed Excalibur along with Captain Britain and Megan, the shapeshifter.
I actually think, hold on, it might be in the start of Extinction Agenda where the X-Men died or were believed to have been killed.
Right.
Yeah, okay. This is the lead into Extinction Agenda. I have the trade paperback here. It says, months ago, the X-Men died, sacrificing their lives to defeat the evil adversary. Their deaths were broadcast on worldwide television, and although the goddess Roma soon resurrected them, the X-Men decided to let the world continue believing that they were dead. So, no, they were actually dead.
Okay.
Was that Inferno?
No, this is Extinction Agenda.
Oh.
You mean when they died?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Because they died before Extinction Agenda.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is that this, like what I just read there was the lead in to Extinction Agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not paying close enough attention, apparently.
So so to round off your answer, why do I like her? Because basically the way Chris Claremont wrote her as a fully fledged character along with Rachel Summers, a lot of what was going on in Excalibur was about the team interaction on the adventures that they were going on. They were like an ad hoc team, not an intentional one. They just came together because they were like the last surviving mutants, and these are the superheroes of Britain, so we might as well hang out together. And they became a team over time as they got to know each other, and they were written with, get this, personality traits.
I don't know this word.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. And
comics nowadays, you don't.
They have personal histories that inform the things they say and how they think and feel.
And the things that they do.
It's weird, right? Like, it's not like who they are, like cis white male, therefore this is how they act. Like, that doesn't really have anything to do with it. Captain Britain was what Chris Claremont wrote him as an alcoholic who needed to know that he was an alcoholic and refused to admit it. And it was great. Like, it was a deep comic in terms of like personal reading. When I was a young kid reading this, like from back issues up, I bought them chronologically from the back issues bin. It was fantastic reading, because I'm like, man, I don't remember anything other than some parts of X-Men or Spider-Man willing to get that far into making the characters much more real and rounded and developed, and Yeah. And that, by the way, is when I first noticed, like, who's writing this? And that's when I discovered Chris Claremont and associated him with excellent writing, through Excalibur.
It's kind of funny, actually. They attempted to, have gravitas and pull with other comic characters, but they always usually failed spectacularly. Like the whole relationship between the Vision and Wanda.
Yeah.
To me, it was fucking laughable. But
yeah, I mean,
it was not good. It was not written well. And throw in that the whole fact that Miss Marvel married her rapist, who gave birth to her son, who was also her rapist, who died because he advanced really quickly.
You leave issue 200 out of this.
Fuck all of the Avengers, dude. Seriously. It was so stupid.
One last thing I do want to say. I picked that particular picture of Kitty Pryde because David Finch drew it, and I really dig David Finch's art. And I came to find out that the guy actually, although being a very good artist, hasn't done very much because we're in current year and we'd rather pay Tumblr artists to draw horribly for low amounts of money for some reason.
For those in the chat that are what the fucking that whole storyline, yeah, no, seriously. That's also the issue where Miss Marvel loses her powers to Rogue.
Yeah.
So that whole storyline is just a barrel of fuck off.
People have covered that on YouTube and on countless sites. Issue 200 is legendary for how bad it is, but we haven't covered it here. We should.
I have it.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm not going to admit I own that.
I owned it, but wasn't exactly aware that I owned it. It was in one of the long boxes, right? And I bought it with chunks of other Avengers, not realizing that I had gotten it. And I guess I should have clued in that an issue was so damn cheap, even though it was a milestone issue.
Yeah,
but
it was supposed to be Carol Danvers' exit as Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst part about it is the cartoon got it better than the comic. Because the cartoon, they left Carol Danvers in the coma. The same issue that Carol Danvers is put in a coma, she's brought out of it by Professor Xavier, and the only net gain we have is that Rogue now has Miss Marvel superpowers, and Carol Danvers is no longer polluting Marvel Comics.
I liked her back then.
No,
I liked Miss Marvel, but they've ruined her.
It was terrible back then too.
She was cool as Warbird. I like that costume better too.
Warbird was in what the 2000s, it was the early 2000s when they brought her back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was really cool then, and then they ruined her again. That's what Marvel does.
Well, I kind of want to pull chat because I mean the name of the stream is for fuck's sake, can we spoil Avengers Endgame yet? Or some words to that effect. What do you think, chat? Spoil it or not? I'm thinking not. Like, just leave it for the people who haven't seen it yet. Because we rushed off to see it doesn't mean everybody did, and it's kind of become a thing to avoid spoiling. Even though it was spoiled for me, motherfucker. Fuck whoever that was in the Nick Rekieta stream that sent in that super chat. He paid money to spoil it. So and so dies, so and so lives, and such happens to so and so. Spoilers. Like, you're a sad, pathetic little man.
Princess Unicorn Nipples. This girl battling cancer met a few of the cast members from the Avengers. Next week, she's meeting Stan Lee.
I love how Monkey's in chat. He's like, spoil it. Okay, he doesn't want us to spoil it on Monkey in the Morning, but he's fine with us developing a reputation as a bunch of sons of bitches spoiling it over here. I see how you do, Monkey. It's fine. That's great.
There you go. Frosted Glass said spoiler-free review.
Oh. My spoiler-free review, I am a huge fan of Captain America, Steve Rogers. I was looking because he had a small yet awesome role to play in Infinity War. I was looking for more Steve Rogers, and you certainly get that. In terms of his character alone, it's great. I personally loved it. As you know, my favorite film is Captain America: The First Avenger, my favorite MCU film. I love Chris Evans, even though he's a douche in real life. He plays Steve Rogers to a fucking T from the comics. Some people disagree with it. My impression on that, like, how could it not have bothered you more? I don't know. It just didn't. I really dug it. I think he ended in a great place. And there it is. Overall, I liked Infinity War more, but it was a good conclusion to some 22 films. From here on out, ladies and gentlemen, it is a bunch of expensive fan films. The MCU is done in my mind. From now on, the continuity is over, and they're just doing fan films at this point with multi-billion-dollar budgets. Jack, what's your spoiler-free review?
I thought it was all right. I disagree with the last few minutes of the movie, and when you watch it, you'll guess what I'm talking about. But Yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. It was fun. I would have liked to have seen them introduce some of the characters they got back from Fox. And I would have liked a teaser at the end. Because there's no end credits kicker.
Do not tell me they put the X-Men in it.
No, I wish they had.
Oh, okay.
Or at least somebody that they got back, so they could have celebrated that a little bit.
Let's put it this way. The next 6 minutes on Twitter put out a poll asking who you want to see in the to be a team up in phase 4, and he put it in a bunch of it was Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange and a couple of others. I had to put down Miss Marvel and America Chavez, and I put the GIF of Michael Caine as Alfred talking to Christian Bale, saying some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah,
that is unironically my thoughts on the MCU as a whole. So
I was upset by it. I mean, that could be the most that you tweeted that. It's that could be the worst team up ever. It's Marvel's going to ride this, obviously and understandably, until the wheels fall off on this thing. And then once the wheels fall off, they'll push it down the street with sparks flying. It's just, they're obviously going to do that. It's been a monumental moneymaker for them. It's not well, we're done with that now. Come on. No, they're not. They're going to, you still got the next Spider-Man film, which is ready to come out. You're going to have Black Panther 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Captain Marvel, Carl Manvers has to have 15 films to prove they're woke. You're going to get female Avengers, although I didn't think that was going to happen. And I thought they were just referencing that group photo as I responded to your boy Pat on Twitter. I hadn't seen Endgame yet. And it's oh no, all female Avengers led by Captain Marvel very well might be a thing. Damn it.
I'm still waiting for America Chavez. When that happens, you all know what time it is.
Peter asks, is Red Skull in Endgame? Yes. He was also in Infinity War.
I for one, am waiting for them to dust off the really obscure people. Great Lakes Avengers. They deserve their own movie.
Yeah. Mike Parlett asked your boy Pat. Yeah. Pat, not Zach.
Yeah.
Different guy. Yeah. Those guys, other than both having served in the military, they could hardly be more different than each other, huh?
Yeah, right. I think your boy Pat actually does read comics. So
yes, he does. Yeah. I've been meaning to hit him up on DMs. He read comics back in the day. But that doesn't matter. I mean, people have great memories of comics. When Monkey came on, it's I haven't read comics recently, but I got my favorites. We should ask Pat about it. Bring him on. He's hilarious. I'd love to have him on.
Hell yeah.
What? Oh, so this was an article that we did talk about last week. Oh, shit. Hold on. Not that one. We did talk about it last week, but as Quiz reminded me, but I've got fresh rage after having seen it. After having seen Endgame. Where the fuck is that article? This is what happens when you open 35 fucking tabs. You lose track. Okay, here we are. Boom and share.
Shady, I also want a Paste Pop Pete movie.
A talking raccoon is taken more seriously than women by male MCU fans. The amount of screen time that Captain Marvel was a big point of contention for a lot of people. She was people said, she's only on screen for 15 minutes. I'd be surprised if it was a full 15. I'd say more like 13 minutes.
Don't ruin anything. Spoiler free, yo. Spoiler free.
But that's not spoiler free. I went into the movie with renewed gusto after hearing that. I don't want to hear that. It's to me, that either meant a great thing that she was in it for such a short amount of the screen time, because I knew it was 3 hours running time and she's only in it for this little bit. That could mean, holy shit, they just put her there because she exists in the MCU, so we got to have her there. And it's okay, that would be fine. Or she's only in that short amount of time because she shows up at the very end to marry Sue and save the day. So I went in not knowing how to feel,
I'd have to agree with Ranting Monkey in the chat. I'd believe a talking raccoon over a woman any day. And we should let raccoons vote. Modify the 19th.
Well, so my renewed rage over this was the amount of time taken, and MCU fans, and I talked to people on Discord about this. Everybody loves Rocket Raccoon. Everybody. There's a reason that they gave Rocket Raccoon so much screen time. He's adorable. He's well voice acted. The character's written to be really funny. What's not to like? Everyone loves Rocket Raccoon.
Well, I do have to say one thing about Rocket, though. The first couple of trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy did not do them any favors, because I actually didn't want to see Guardians of the Galaxy because of Rocket Raccoon specifically in the fucking trailers. I ended up seeing the movie out of theaters and loved the character. They did not choose good scenes with Rocket in the previews. I'm just saying. Very easy to make that character bad.
Well, I always liked Rocket. I thought he was a fun character because he's so crazy of a character type. He's like Bucky O'Hare kind of thing. But he was also created by Bill Mantlo, who got hit by a car back in the 80s and needs your help. There's his GoFundMe link. Because he got a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. And Monkey's not wrong, as well as what somebody else said. By all means, if you're enjoying the stream, please push the like button. It actually does help, especially with our dramatically low numbers, which, whatever. We love our audience, man, whatever. But, maybe somebody else would like the stream that hasn't seen it yet. It definitely helps with the algorithm that is a constant enigma to figure out how to work properly so your stuff actually comes up and recommends. Let me tell you, fucking mystery, man.
Yeah.
The raccoon thing, why it pissed me off is because you hear a lot of talk about, and we talked about it last week. It's like Rachel Leishman, the author of this article, is belaying her sad state as being a female fan of superheroes. Poor you. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. That's not like, yeah, I'm a fan of superheroes, and people are like, you're a grown man. You're a doctoral student, you read comics, that's kind of sad. And it's like, hey, fuck you. I enjoy my entertainment, and leave it at that. You can't turn that into a measure of oppression, Rachel Leishman. It's really just not that big of a deal. Like what you like and fuck them.
No, you see, because raccoons represent the patriarchy, and they go through your secrets, which are in your trash. And they also eat trash, which is why they are like the patriarchy, because men are trash.
Well, you know what? I hear you, and I wish you were kind of kidding when it comes to the whole overblown interpretation of the world. And you get this whole idea of like a victim complex, and that there's value in victim status that there never really was before. This kind of cements it. I don't think men realize just how much it sucks being a female fan of superheroes. Anything and everything in their life is interpreted as a means of oppression, a means that they're being pushed down upon or judged or whatever. And it's like, it's really just not that big of a deal. Like it's you can't make everything a big deal, or nothing is. Anyway, she gets really upset because of this podcast, radio show, whatever the fuck it was, where the person's talking about how bold it was to make Rocket Raccoon a main character. And but the women's all the female characters need to be respected more, and how little screen time she got. She complains about that later. And it's like, you know what? There were countless characters after having seen the movie that got very little screen time. It blew me away that they bothered to talk about something so petty. The movie, and this is spoiler free, is a Captain America, Iron Man, largely those two story, and everybody else becomes ancillary. You can't have a 3-hour movie with every one of the fucking Avengers and all of their friends and so on. Otherwise, the movie Thor 2. It was really about the main core characters. So if you're going to cover anyone else, who's it going to be? Well, Hawkeye gets a lot of screen time. So does Black Widow. In other words, the main fucking characters, not everybody else that's been added on all up until then. Black Panther didn't get any screen time, really. He was only on there for a flash. I'm surprised they didn't make a big deal of that. Oh, what about the POCs not getting their screen time?
There is actually a lot of women in that movie. So as far as comparable screen time, I thought they did pretty good for representation.
Why does that matter, though?
I don't know. It doesn't to me. I just want a good movie. I don't care what color someone is or what gender they are, as long as the movie's good and they're not beating me over the head with these bullshit politics. but they find something to complain about like this. Like, he's a fucking talking raccoon. How many of those are you seeing in real life? And if it's more than 0, you probably need to talk to somebody.
Well, okay, let's check out what Rachel Leishman is saying, a short while later. I'm glad Rocket Raccoon was more than just a joke in Avengers Endgame. Oh, bitch.
Oh, go fuck yourself, Rachel.
Can you
go fuck yourself?
Like, for real. Do you not like this? Mary Sue website is so riddled with endless contradictions where they'll take one position, then take another position, and then have to write a third article explaining why both those positions are not in conflict with each other. I have been a Rocket Raccoon fan since the dawning of Guardians of the Galaxy. Why? Maybe because of my Pennsylvania upbringing or seeing raccoons regularly and blah, blah. And then she goes on to say how much she loves Rocket Raccoon. But those damn males like him more than women. Like, what? What's your what?
No matter what happens, Rachel is always going to say that men are at fault. Go fuck yourself, Rachel. When has anyone that you have ever claimed to be a misogynist ever said that you're wrong because you're a woman? Go fuck yourself. Seriously. And fuck your website.
No. I say fuck your website in the sense of fuck anyone taking your website seriously, but don't shut it down. We need the lull.
Yeah, no, seriously. I keep being stupid too. For all, by all means, keep being stupid, Rachel.
What kills me about it is it's important that there be websites like this, that a group of embittered people with huge chips on their shoulders and major axes to grind get together in the same place and form a website like the Mary Sue, because it lets you know how far gone and how contradictory and how looking for problems, so always able to find one, whether there's a real problem or not, that worldview makes you. Mm-hmm. Here's my problem with this. Here's my problem with that. It really, Jesus Christ, I was just kidding. Look at the name of this article. Here's my problem with Natasha Romanoff in Avengers Endgame.
Also written by Rachel Leishman, probably.
Let's find out. Here's my problem. Here's my problem. And there's an article called "Here's My Problem" with. Well, yeah, it is written by Rachel Leishman.
We should have taken the over/under about whether or not it was written by Rachel.
I mean, because it's. And Rachel Leishman is the main persona of Princess Weeks, who's her cat, right?
Yes.
No, okay. Princess Weeks is Gail Simone's cat.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was Rachel Leishman's cat persona that she was speaking through.
No, Rachel Leishman is also one of Gail Simone's cats.
Okay.
It's Lord Meowington in disguise.
I've got to know. I'm looking up Rachel Leishman to see if she has anything else that she fucking...
Shady Grin says he's a rabbit, and Pop-Tart responds, how the fuck is he a rabbit? It's a joke from the film. Thor mistakenly understands Rocket Raccoon as a rabbit because he's not from Earth, so he doesn't know different types of animals, so he keeps calling him a rabbit.
Hang on. Thank you, Fatty057. Shekels for you, Jack.
Jack likes shekels.
I do.
Now, there is one. So here's my problem with Natasha Romanoff. Going over to this other article, I've got it open in another tab, but we might as well jump there directly. There's a seriously problematic depiction of a character in Avengers Endgame. This one not being written by Miss Leishman.
Well, have you
Kalia Hale Stern?
Are there spoilers in this one?
There are spoilers about one character and some minor plot points. What kills me about this, though, is in this article, she said, and the subtitle is spoilers, but I would have appreciated the warning. Now, what she's referring to, and she makes that clear throughout the article. So I won't read because we're doing spoiler free, but she didn't want a warning for spoilers. That's not what she's referring to. She wanted a trigger warning for the depiction of this character. Yeah. If you've seen Endgame and you see the depiction that she says she wanted a trigger warning for, it would blow your mind. Like, why? Because when you have a huge chip on your shoulder, you see problems everywhere, whether they're there or not. That's why. talk about an over-interpretation and a melodramatic interpretation at that of the situation to call it problematic.
I'm sure you can actually talk about the specifics. I'm just reading chat over here. It's got okay, Pop-Tart doesn't know, but Jim Healis says, I always wanted a body like Thor. Now I finally have it. Mustafa says, oh, she's talking about that thing, isn't she?
I don't know. It part the reason, like, it's spoiler. In this case, it's not spoiling a dramatic moment. It's spoiling a good piece of reveal comedy.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that it's turned into comedy that it's problematic for them. It's like, you're laughing about that. That's not funny, you know? And it's like, no, it totally is. Shut up.
Dude, my favorite thing that happened in high school once, I used to have a black leather trench coat. Okay, I swear I'm not part of the trench coat mafia, and I didn't take a shotgun to school and kill any people. But I remember I was wearing it once, and there was this activist sort of person just staring daggers at me in the hall, and she goes, like, with this indignation in her voice, just goes, "Do you know how many cows it took to make that?" I leaned in real close, just kind of like, just bending at the waist, just getting a little bit closer, and just say, not enough.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 24 hamburgers worth.
I just said not enough. And she stormed out in a huff, and I never felt more vindicated.
I made a fat vegan cry in speech class one time because
nice.
I didn't prepare my speech because I'm lazy and I'm a terrible student.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave a speech on why veganism and vegetarianism is far superior. And she went through all these recipes. So I impromptu gave a speech on why you should be a meatitarian. And I made her cry. She ran out of the room and threw up in the hallway.
Oh, holy Christ. Rachel Leishman wrote this article too. This is a real quick one. This was the week for grabbing shit from Mary Sue. It's like, an Avengers Endgame character looks like Joe Biden, and I'm still screaming about it. Okay, you know what? She's not wrong. If you know the character, a friend of mine said, is it just me or did so-and-so look like Joe Biden a little bit? And I'm like, I thought that too when I was in the theater. It's a vague resemblance. And she's still screaming about it.
It was hard to tell without him sniffing anyone's hair.
Yeah, the vague resemblance wasn't feeling up on underage girls. It wasn't, or sniffing hair or inappropriately kissing other men's wives. That whatever. It was just the way he looked physically, vaguely resembled Joe Biden. And I thought about them, like, it's kind of funny. He looks like Joe Biden. She's screaming mad about it. Why? It's a funny little one-off moment.
Is she mad or is she excited?
It's not worth writing an article about, no matter what.
They have to fill content to fill their empty, hollow lives, Polly. They don't have children running around to love them or dads that didn't go to their recitals. It's just this void in their heart.
But let's talk about filling content, shall we? James Gunn, right? And there he is with a raccoon. Careful, they have diseases, James Gunn. Well, the raccoon's probably in more danger than James Gunn is.
Depends how young that raccoon is.
I don't see how that's the case. But
no, okay. Well, your confusion relates. Okay. Mm-hmm. New Gunn Suicide Squad casting ensures James Gunn will make us love more weird characters. They love them some James Gunn over at Mary Sue, because he's and I can't read minds, but my best guess is because his fucking politics are right. Why? Because they're not quick to judge him for being this or that, or even if you were joking, your jokes went too far. Like that old discussion. For those who don't know, James Gunn, way back in the day, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, however long ago it was tweeting out a bunch of jokes about pedophilia, edgy jokes. Okay, some people said, "Well, dude, you talk about it so much, I'm not so certain it's jokes." And you dressed up in photographs or of him at a pedophile themed party. It was an edgy humor party. He said he's dressed up as a pedophile priest. A bunch of the girls that went were dressed as little girls. It was supposed to be all hilarious and edgy. whatever it was, I'm not even. Quiz absolutely thinks that it was all jokes and people overreacted. Why aren't you guys holding him to the same standard? He ended up getting fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 by Disney and then hired back after the dust had settled. Whatever. The point is, Mary Sue are very much behind him on this one. And I think it's because his politics are right. And what leads me to think that? Well, because they have this other article. Donald Trump's Federal Reserve Board nominee has particularly terrible history of gross, sexist, quote, jokes.
Okay, this is not on me. This is on the Mary Sue. Okay, the reason why Mary Sue are perfectly okay with James Gunn is because he does have, quote, the right politics.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Of course, there's going to be this double standard amongst them. I'm just saying, you know what? How about you leave fucking people alone? How about that? For all the conservatives that are sitting there saying, well, he's obviously a closet pedophile. Those are dog whispers. Shut the fuck up. You're no better than this bitch on Mary Sue. Shut up.
Did you say dog whispers?
Dog whistle.
I thought you said dog whispers. I just pictured James Gunn whispering dirty jokes.
How awful must it be to know that any of these conservatives that are deriding James Gunn for tweeting jokes and making joke photographs, you're just as bad as someone who writes for the Mary Sue. How awful must it be to know that?
Well, I hear your point, but right now we're talking about the Mary Sue. And my point being is that why is backing this guy, even though he cracked a bunch of really tasteless fucking jokes and dressed up these jokes or dressed up for the sake of jokes, right? Mm-hmm. But they defended him and there's no problem with it. But then one day prior, this guy's horrible because of his terrible history of gross sexist jokes. And they catalog them all. Can you believe he said this? And the subtitle being, "This is bad even by Trump nominee standards."
Oh my God.
So what's the problem? It's all just jokes, right?
Yes, there is.
Well, not unless you have the wrong politics. Then they're not just jokes. It shows you're a terrible person.
They're not jokes if Orange Man equals bad.
So my whole point in showing those two articles is, again, this place is a giant hotbed of contradiction.
Well, it's not only a hotbed of contradiction, it's also like the entirety of it, like from one article to the next, of course, they're going to contradict themselves. They have to always spin things to their myopic view of the world. Mm-hmm. And it's infuriating because they do that in the same article, as I'm sure that we're probably going to explore later with the whole Vader thing.
Yeah.
You did say whispers. You said dog whispers. Chad agrees with me. We're busting you on that.
Whatever. Yeah. No, seriously, man. Like the Mary Sue are a bunch of hypocrites. That's what the site is all about. It's an entirely, like, the entire thing of that website is nothing but fucking hypocrites. It's made by hypocrites, it's run by hypocrites, it's published by hypocrites.
Yeah. Pretty much. Well, in any case, there wasn't anything to really like go through and discuss of all of the articles that I looked at Mary Sue, because there are no points that they have other than, hey, they're mad at this. Hey, they're mad at something else. Oh, guess what? They managed to find all sorts of problems in the most talked about thing of the past couple of weeks, Avengers Endgame. And it's not, I like this, I didn't like that. It's, let's find problems with it. Okay, let me see how I can put this. Somebody was asking me, what is it with you and comicsgate? Why do you feel passionately about it? And I'm like, let's not act like these characters are not important. I'm not saying important to the human race. I'm saying important enough to be used and manipulated for the sake of culture war bullshit.
Well, I think that they are important because there are history, there are mythos, they're purely and unadulterated American. And they started in the area where America needed heroes, and they've perpetuated because of that whole idealistic mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
and it's not doing a service to not only the characters, but also the culture, the American culture, to just shit on these characters the way that these people have been doing.
And well, okay, not just shit on them, but as I was talking on Monkey in the Morning last night or earlier today, and Jack was there. He's going to remember this.
Well,
or was it after the fact? I don't know. My days become a blur. Anyway, it's not just important to shit on them, which, great, or usurp them, like America Chavez stealing Steve
Hitler
Rogers' punch from Hitler, on Hitler. It's like, wait a minute. Steve Rogers is in a oft-used cover from a comic way back in the day, is punching Hitler in the face and like knocking him the fuck out. And so it becomes this big thing. Captain America has always punched Nazis, and it became part of the whole punch Nazis thing. Yeah. So of course, when they're writing, when Gabby Rivera is writing America Chavez, she has America Chavez go back in time and push Cap aside, and she knocks out Hitler. Because it's not just enough to have her there. She's got to steal the moment, usurp him. And then so you get into this idea of like replacement theory. And I hate that replacement theory gets mixed up with the alt-right idea of replacement theory. It's like, no, it's about replacing a character that when we talk about it, it's like replacing a character with somebody else that's more woke and expecting the plugged in, built in audience to just move over there with that character, like female Thor, Korean Hulk, black teenage female Iron Man. I mean, what else, guys? The list goes on and on.
Thor.
What's that?
Thor.
I did say that one. Thor.
Oh, okay.
White Captain Marvel. Looking at you, Brie Larson. you use a fake ass Southern California version of Monica Rambeau. That's the real Captain Marvel.
Man, she was the real Captain Marvel in that time period, but the real Captain Marvel says Shazam. Always has.
Yep.
Well, I like cracking jokes because my first dealing with the character Captain Marvel in Marvel Comics was Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, a lot of people say.
Now, and I make a lot of that argument facetiously. It's just that was my introduction to the character, and I understand multiple people hold the mantle of certain characters, and that's fine. And they're not related anyway. It's just like the same name, whatever. So in any case, it does segue over very nicely to a piece of fucking awesome comedy. Petition demands Captain Marvel be played by a gay woman of color, not Brie Larson.
Now I can't tell who's actually putting this petition out.
Well, let's read through some of the petition statements, and you tell me if these people are shitposted or not, because I kind of think they are.
Yeah, it sounds like it to me.
Well, I gotta say, well done, Bounding into Comics. This is the perfect smug Carl Manver's face right there. I mean, it's just well done. Good choice of images to use. So as we go down, a new petition demands that Captain Marvel be played by a gay woman of color and not actress Brie Larson. The petition is quite short and to the point. It states, quote, "We need Brie Larson to step down from her role to prove she's really an ally of social justice and ensure a gay woman of color plays the role."
No. What they need to do is not only have it a gay woman of color, but also like they can't change the fact that they've established that Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers. So they've got to put her in whiteface.
Yeah, well,
she's a gay woman of color who's in whiteface.
I'm just saying, Brie Larson is supposedly so woke, and this is, if you guys have listened to the stream before, I've cracked this joke repeatedly. It's like, wait a minute, Brie Larson, you're standing up on behalf of the marginalized. You're standing up on behalf of, people of color and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think you're using them as a woke shield just to score points as a hyper liberal person in Hollywood, because you are the epitome of what's wrong with Hollywood, according to the very theory that you're pushing forth. You are a multimillionaire celebrity, blonde, white woman from Southern California. Are you fucking kidding me? And you're going to say, well, from my privileged position, you enjoy all of your white privilege far too much to step aside and let a gay woman of color play the role. You want to play the role and then talk about how marginalized these other people are. It's kind of like, I mean, this system can't work. This worldview can't work. You're full of shit, Brie. Like, following through what you're saying to its logical extent means you should have never accepted the role, you fucking hypocrite.
Yeah. It's untenable, like all of social justice.
So this does continue. The petition also indicates that Larson, quote, hasn't donated to any charity other than the Motion Picture and Television Fund Foundation. The petition's creator notes it's time for her to show she's not all talk. The petition is currently signed by a whopping 32 individuals. John D. writes, quote, because Monica Rambeau is a better version of Captain Marvel. Rob writes, diversity should be real and not an agenda of an actress to preach. Frank writes, Captain Marvel should be Monica Rambeau, whose hero was a father and a New Orleans police officer. That's right, he was. Yeah.
Yep.
Michael K. writes, if she cared about diversity, why, as a white woman, did she take a role meant for a black woman? These are shit posters, and this is glorious. This is. But one thing I really did like about this article is that it embeds Young Ripper 59's video, where, if you haven't seen this video, it's great. Captain Marvel, white SJW celebrate destroying Monica Rambeau. And his YouTube channel is awesome, and he just launched actually a new website and a podcast, which is great. I'm looking forward to it. So if you haven't checked out Young Ripper 59, you absolutely should. He goes, his real name is Eric July. And he says, July stated, when it comes to the relationship between Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers, in this movie, it embodies exactly how white leftist social justice advocates see themselves. But the complete change of Monica highlights how they can step on black canon, even if it means to grandstand or signal. It's like, you just can check out Young Ripper's shit. It's badass. He's got a lot of smart shit. Great channel. I shouldn't be, well, as I've said before, I don't need to be plugging this guy. This guy needs to plug my channel. But anyway, it's fine. He adds a whole bunch of quotes from him. Not that, just won't go through all of them. It's just worth watching his original video on it. Well, July stated that Marvel's portrayal of Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel is racist. Brie Larson talks about promoting diversity as much as she can in her press engagements. Damn right she does. She recently appeared on Variety and iHeartRadio's new podcast, The Big Cast, where she noted, we got to move faster when it comes to LGBTQ plus and diversity representation in superhero films. We got to move faster, y'all. You understand?
I don't know what that means. Why?
Well, this snail's pace of representation. We need Brie Larson directing the next film and starring in it as Captain Marvel, the next superhero film.
Well, obviously.
Okay? So she can be a rich, Oscar-winning, Southern California, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pasty-skinned white woman talking about black people.
I remember a time when somebody said that the white, blonde, blue-eyed people are going to save us all, and things went really badly for the Jews.
Well, I don't. Okay. Sad Boy said, I hope 4chan users did this for the petition. I found an archived thread from Poll saying, using Brie Larson's rhetoric against her, petition for Brie Larson to commit to social justice for real, get the hypocrisy on display, and link to the petition site for take action. Here's some of the responses. This is actually pretty good. Not going to sign the petition, but I support the idea. Fuck that stupid cunt. To be fair, she has a perfect nose. I like this idea. Using SJW logic against themselves tends to bring out their true colors. Bump. The rest is like she's half asleep or high on opiates. The dyke haircut in Endgame didn't help her oblong face. Amazing idea. I don't really care for this Brie twat. Signed, don't be lazy and sign spread, you dumb anons. Hurry the fuck up. Racism called me name. This needs to stop.
Well, yeah, there's a good point. BG says talking at black people, not talking for them. I wouldn't even, you know what? I get your point, but I would go even further. I would say just using them as a reference point in discussion. In the same way that somebody would say, I work 30 hours of volunteer time a week. I'm nice to my mother, and I recognize that black people are marginalized. Like the way they would just list off their good points of what's positive, self-effacing, and self-sacrificing of them to do. Whether any of those things are true or not, that's all it is.
Here's lending some credence. Remove the gay bit. It's too obvious. So I don't know if OP here is the actual person that put up this petition, but yeah.
I'm definitely down for going and signing that petition, which I will afterwards. The link, I should put up the link to the, you know what? I will. I'll put the link to the article that I was just reading, and then you guys will have the link to the petition as well as a link to Young Rip's video that's embedded in that story. There it is, right there.
I think we need to start a petition. Frosted Glass said Polly needs to be played by a queer woman of color.
I'm 100% down with that.
So in the movie version, Polly.
Yeah, we need to diversify comic book curation.
Well, you know, it's funny. People ask me if there was going to be a movie in my life, who would I want to play me? And I said LeVar Burton, because I thought the physical similarity was just stunning. I mean, he's an elderly, short black man. I mean, that's so much like me.
Yes.
I thought it was perfect. So see, I'm down for POCs as well, you see, because LeVar Burton's black. You see.
He's also kind of awesome. So
he is. I've heard he's kind of a prick, but you know.
His daughter is really hot. And
yeah, she is actually.
And kind of social justice-y, but not too much. So,
I couldn't say one way or the other. Is she?
At least on Twitter a little bit. Tiny little bit. She mostly posts like cosplay pictures and like, you know, semi-lewds. But yeah, not too terribly. She just, you know, says some things sometimes that make you say, eh.
Well, while we're at the before we move off of Avengers Endgame.
Well, Mata Winder said, wait, Polly is a black Jew? That's right.
Yes, Hebrew Israelite all the way. I enjoy screaming rape threats at random passerbys on the street. Christ.
Where's that quote? We need that
quote. I disavow that was a joke. It was meant as a piece of humor. I'm looking at you, British press. Let's see what you've been doing to Sargon.
Yeah, right.
Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders suggests Disney should use Avengers Endgame profits to pay workers a middle-class wage. What?
I'm okay with it. Yeah, Bernie, push Disney to give me their money.
You know, just as a quick little side note, that's when you see the likeness of Chris Evans playing Captain America there, playing Steve Rogers. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about like heroes, part of the American mythos, cultural touchstones or benchmark points, you know, all the things that you could describe comic book characters as, right? They occupy a very interesting place in the Never Land of imagination and the cultural zeitgeist, right?
Yeah.
I think they absolutely do, which is why people want to use them as SJW types want to use them as mouthpieces. When you can get Captain America denouncing America, looking at you, Ta-Nehisi Coates, writing Captain America, you fuck. That's powerful because it's like we have this iconic American character now. I mean, I'm positive Ta-Nehisi Coates would love to write something where Steve Rogers is specifically and explicitly denouncing Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he would adore it. It just wouldn't make any sense in the current storyline, but he'll get around to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll find a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course to have all remember Black Panther and the crew?
Yep.
Unfortunately. Yeah, for those of you who don't know in chat, Ta-Nehisi Coates, a so-called writer, I think he actually is a fairly skilled writer, but he uses his pen poisonously to just write screeds of
Garbage.
Well,
He has issues.
it's like he's looking to incubate and grow his own bitterness, or at the very least, the bitterness of others.
Mm.
He finds new and improved ways of spotting racism everywhere. This is the guy who turns racism into the everywhere boogeyman.
Yeah. He's the sort of person that he's your stereotypical race baiter.
And, oh man, that guy's a race hustler writ large. Like Van Jones needs to learn some things about race baiting from Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Mm-hmm.
That guy has made his career, and he is absolutely smothered and marinating in awards, because every leftist liberal organization that has an award shovels an award at him. To not only like give him an award for being so woke as to write a bunch of racist bullshit, and then aren't they good white folks for giving an award to the guy who talked a bunch of trash about white folks, you know, and to do it with very good writing. He is a very skilled writer. It's just unfortunate that he uses his talents for such. Like, dude, don't you get tired of writing about such anger? You don't write anything that's affirmational or heads anywhere. It's descriptive of negativity that you yourself are identifying currently and in the past. I don't know. I've got a lot of criticisms for that guy's stuff, and it's not focused on you're an asshole, you're this, you're that. It's like, dude, you're actually really talented, and that makes it all the more tragic what you spend your time doing. So anyway, he's not a fiction writer. The guy's a nonfiction writer. So of course he gets hired by Marvel Comics to write comics. Like what? So what does he do? He writes Black Panther and the Crew. So he takes T'Challa and Aurora and every other Storm from X-Men and every other black character he can think of, puts them all together in a team that he very subtly calls Black Panther and the Crew.
And the Crew.
And they're based in New York, specifically Harlem, of course, even though Harlem has been completely gentrified and isn't largely black anymore. But what does that matter? It's historically so. So therefore he puts them there. And they go around, they fight social justice-y battles. Like Storm and T'Challa going undercover to expose rent raising and gentrification of apartment buildings. I'm not kidding.
That was my favorite.
And they're on the lookout for these robot police officers that have been programmed with racial profiling software. They're called AmeriCops, and they patrol the hood, oppressing black folks. And so Black Panther and the Crew roll around and fight the AmeriCops. It didn't last very long, and it wasn't very successful. Shocker.
Fuck the police, Polly.
So when it was done, that series, what did they do? Well, they put him on Captain America, of course. Of course. All the way back to the beginning of my rambling point. Obviously, superheroes are important, not only to us, but to the people who are looking to make an ideological point, because they know if Steve Rogers can be a mouthpiece for their ideals, that's powerful. It's affecting things and influencing people, and they goddamn well know it. So they want to use these characters in this way. So it's not only us that thinks they're important. Apparently they, whoever they are, the people that are like fucking around to get ideology pushed, they also assume that it's important. Looking at you, Ta-Nehisi Coates. So, you got Steve Rogers here. I will say this for Chris Evans. I really will. As much as he takes every interview opportunity to talk about how much he hates Trump, to talk about his leftist politics, as much as as many opportunities as he takes on Twitter, I've never once heard him trying to push his particular current year political beliefs into the character. Never once. So he's got that going for him, even though he's a total douchebag with the other stuff. I mean, that's good. Steve Rogers is still an eminently likable, heroic fucking character in the MCU. He's great. He's everything that he was in the comics before Ta-Nehisi Coates got a hold of him. And before he was a Nazi, of course. Remember that?
I still love that because there are so many people that have like gone and photoshopped that the whole Hail Hydra thing with Steve Rogers. Like I've got one that's like Batman, I killed my parents. Spider-Man, fuck responsibility. Deadpool, I hate chimichangas. There's one that like really went to the nines and made him Abaddon the Despoiler from Warhammer and said, for the Emperor.
I find it interesting that those comics, whether it be let me tell you, ask me about my feminist agenda t-shirt on the cover, right? Or unsolicited opinions on Israel, or the Hail Hydra moment. Those broke out of the comic fandom and people started using them and memeing them everywhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they became like cultural memes rather than just like comic book memes.
Right. You see what I mean? Like it's interesting that yeah, comics. I like your boy Zach's new channel name after he changed it from Diversity in Comics to Comics Matter with your boy Zach. And it's like, yeah, we're not trying to get anyone to take them any more seriously than they already are taken, which is that they're interesting, influential characters. And I'm not saying anything more than that, but you got the fucking Bill Maher's of the world. Only in a country where comic books are important could Donald Trump have gotten elected. Why don't you grow up and stop reading comics with big boy books without... Like, Bill Maher, you motherfucker, you arrogant, ancient cocksucker. Like, fuck you. I seriously, if I stopped reading books right now and you read a book a week for the rest of your life, you still wouldn't catch up to me, old man. That's how many big boy books I've had to go through in grad school. And I still read comic books. You unfunny bastard. Anyway.
It's the mulings of an irrelevant fuck, Polly.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I got real mad hearing Bill Maher talk about comics in that way, like especially related it to Stan Lee's death. I can't believe everyone's taken this guy's death that hard. It's like, honestly, lighten up. People are taking his death hard because he created some really interesting, really full of impact and full of longevity characters. That's it, man.
No.
Like, lighten up. Like, that's all people are saying. Why you got to be a prick about it?
Because he's an enemy of fun, like all SJWs. He hates fun. He doesn't like that you're having fun, and he wants to destroy it.
Yeah. After like, I don't know, a couple of days after that happened, I thought about it and I'm like, I think Quiz, what you were saying has a lot to do with it. It's like, this is this guy's shtick to find him and his writing team, because it's not just him, finding what's going on this week. Okay, what can we condescend about and sound intellectually superior to these people? It's what people expect from him. So he does it. I don't even think he feels a lot of these ways. And there's no way to tell whether he actually feels that way or not. He's been doing it so long, and he's got a team, and there's an audience that actually absolutely expects him to be this way. And he consistently is. Anyway,
that's the worst part, is the fact that he's got an audience that expects that from him.
The entire Real Time with Bill Maher audience, or what's his name, Trevor Noah's audience, and so on, Samantha Bee's audience, that is the audience is there. We're going to show up here to see a finger pointed in a given direction, to hear them called all sorts of names full of F-bombs and cocksuckers and stuff, because they love the swears, because that means they're cool and edgy, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna say, these people are stupid. Why don't they just get it? They're not smart like us. Am I right? It's the whole point of it.
The little people are never on equal footing with the enlightened.
Yeah. So let's see what God damn, he looks like a crazy old man in that picture, huh? I mean, you can almost see Steve Rogers looking at him like, what you talking about, crazy old man? What the fuck?
Right?
You know?
By the way, Polly, I'm reading through Black Panther and the Crew. I think we should probably do this on Comic Book Curation sometimes. Do a edited video.
Sure. Yeah. No, that would be fun. I don't know why we didn't think of that. No, that's a good suggestion. We absolutely should. Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders suggested Disney should pay their workers a middle-class wage with the profits from Avengers Endgame. Sanders took to Twitter, of course he did, after Marvel Studios and Disney broke box office records with Avengers Endgame opening weekend that saw the film bring in $1.2 billion worldwide. The Vermont senator, to the never-ending shame of Sticks, Axe, and Hammer, and 2020 presidential candidate tweeted, quote, What would be truly heroic is if Disney used its profits from Avengers to pay all of its workers a middle-class wage instead of paying its CEO Bob Iger $65.6 million, over 1,400 times as much as the average worker from Disney makes. What do you think the average state employee makes in Vermont? You think it's enough to afford 3 houses, including lakefront property?
I guarantee you, it's not. It's nowhere near as much as a senator makes.
But Bernie, why aren't you distributing the wealth, especially the money you got paid off to drop out of the race against Hillary Clinton? Oh, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, we know.
You're funny. You don't know how redistributionism works.
Yeah, to be as fair to Bernie as I possibly can, does Bob Iger get paid a shit ton of money and is doing nothing but ruining the reputation of Disney? Yeah, I really think so.
Ranting Monkey got censored for honkies that he had to spell with a 0.
Yeah, dude,
That's awesome.
I don't know. When you posted the thing about seeing boobies, I was trying to respond to you, saying with the pitch that I've got, I can rectify that. But whenever I would at you, Ranting Monkey, it would give me an error message. When I just put in monkey, it was fine.
Yeah, you have to capitalize his name. We figured that out.
Really?
Yeah.
That is fucked. Why? All I did was just put in like R, at R, and let the chat fill in the rest.
Yeah, you have to capitalize both the R and the M.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my god. So you can't even at monkey with just like putting in letting the autofill finish it.
I don't know. Somebody on Lords of the Night figured it out.
I like that people kind of, like you said, why don't they take this and give everyone a middle class wage? And I'm like, I don't know how many employees Disney has. I'm assuming that they meant specifically at Marvel Studios.
I guarantee you, everyone at Marvel Studios is making well above me, middle class wages.
Well, yeah. And what do you mean by middle class wage? Because what do you mean by livable wage? The number varies, but I do like that Sanders' idea was openly criticized by a number of people, pointing out the CEO's pay would not even cover a modest increase in pay for the average worker. Bob Iger made $0, working would get $26 more per month if he made zero. 65.6 million per year divided by 201,000 employees equals $326 extra per employee per year.
Now, ouch. Is that hold on.
I don't know where you got the number of 201,000 employees, but I don't know if that's like Disney writ large or if that's just Marvel Studios.
Or is that including all of the theme parks and shit too?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know where he pulled that number from, but it's kind of crucial, but it tells you a lot about something. It's like Ocasio-Cortez math. It's socialist math. I'll just say some things like several $1 trillion that the Pentagon lost. And well, we could give everybody free college. Remember, if you guys, I don't mean to diverge into politics here too far, but if you haven't seen the debate between Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders, it's bad. Like, it is a bad beat for Sanders. And that's why you don't see it promoted very much. Whether you like Cruz individually or not, he was going up there to argue the case for capitalism, personal ownership of property, etc., where Bernie Sanders was trying to argue democratic, so his version of democratic socialism. Over and over again, Ted Cruz just beat the hell out of him with it. It's like he's talking about free college for all. If we taxed 100% of all of the billionaires in America, 100%, it would pay for Bernie Sanders' college program for what was it, like a year? It's like you didn't even do the math on this. They're just talking points, guys. They're just feel-good talking points. Wouldn't you like college for free? And someone who paid for college thinks, or is going to, or for their kid is going to be paying for it, thinks, yeah, I'd like free college. Well, I'll do it for you. Vote for me. Yeah. The guy hasn't even thought through whether or not he can do it, whether it's not possible for anyone to do it.
I was going to say, that's the thing. I went to college. I'm swimming in debt, but do I expect for that debt to be paid off by anyone other than me? No. I'm going to do the responsible thing and fucking take my debt with me to the grave. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing too.
According to Meta Winter, it wasn't even 9 months that it would have covered his program. And it's like, yeah, I bet you Sanders didn't even bother to do that math, but Cruz got his people on it real quick because it's like, this doesn't even sound viable. Yeah, it's not, but for them, it doesn't matter. Like Cortez, her response is, it's not about the particular numbers, it's about the feelings. Yeah, if I were you, I'd switch the topic on that stuff real quick because I'd want to keep using these feel-good talking points. But how can you explain you're completely full of shit and none of what you're saying? Again, it's not that you can't do it. No one could. It's simply not possible.
It's the fact that these people are living on the politics of feigned altruism. They're saying things like, college is great for everyone, and you should want to go to college, so we'll pay for your college. That's great, right? Not giving any sort of consideration in anyone that immediately has any sort of scrutiny of that, saying, well, how are you going to do that? Well, no, we can't talk about that. We're talking about, the fact that, what, you don't want college? How horrible must you be not wanting everyone to go to college? How terrible are you? Like, go fuck yourself. Your ideas don't hold up to scrutiny. That's the reason why we're calling you out on it.
Andy Ramirez points to something interesting directly related to the Disney should take its profits from Endgame. Has been leading Disney towards success for decades now. Bob Iger has. He's responsible for thousands of jobs created, which gives benefits and scholarships, not to mention some of the most financially successful films of all time, like the whole MCU apparatus plus everything else. He deserves every penny. So there's an argument of risk versus reward and how many hours you're willing to put in and so forth. My question to Bernie Sanders would be, what can you demonstrate that you've done? I think of you as Sanders, as a non-producer. What is it you do other than produce furious political rhetoric? And how long have you been on the public tit for? Your entire adult fucking life.
I would also like to point out too, though, that I don't think that Bob Iger has done very much in that way either. He is not directly responsible for those successful films. I personally think that the MCU is a flash in the pan. It was a fluke that got it to be as big as it is. I really don't think that there was any sort of plan that made the MCU popular. Not for a moment. And I think that people trying to say that success is purely on Bob Iger are lunatics. They're saying that the king is the king above all kings, and no one should question the king.
This is funny as fuck. Robert Downey Jr. was a foundational building block of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, it's playing Tony Stark. Yeah. Jumpstarting the entire universe. Yeah, it was pretty much how likable he was as Tony Stark that really helped with it.
I'll say it wasn't the first MCU film, though.
It was the first one that anybody cared about. Let's be honest. We don't want to talk about Hulk.
Again, giving me more credence to my flash in the pan argument.
What?
About the fact that the MCU was a fluke.
Oh, well, either way, we can discuss whether the MCU is a fluke in a second if you want to, but it kind of goes outside the point that this guy's making here with, thanks to his early access. Oh yeah, I guess. Thanks to his early access, Downey's camp negotiated a unique financial agreement with the studio head, Kevin Feige, as per the Hollywood Reporter. For just 3 days of work on Spider-Man Homecoming, the actor was reportedly paid $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
Three days of filming in Spider-Man Homecoming, $15 fucking million, to which this guy puts that up and then tweets it out. Robert Downey Jr. made more for one movie than the CEO of Disney made. Go ahead, bro. Attack Robert Downey Jr. Go tell Iron Man he made too much. Be a man. Do it, bro. Well, tweeting that at Bernie Sanders. He makes an interesting point. If anyone's being overpaid for the amount of work put in, it's certainly the actors. But then you can look at it and say, well, Robert Downey Jr. was paid $400,000 for the first Iron Man film. $400,000. That's it. Whereas Brie Larson was paid $5 million, and that's no wonder she's not demanding to be paid the same as her male co-stars. Right? But anyway, it's almost like everything she says is a matter of circumstantial convenience and just kind of makes it up as she goes. But anyway, why is he able to negotiate these ridiculously high salaries? Because people want to see Tony Stark as Iron Man, and he's saying, "Look, the market demands this. This is what I'm worth." I really don't blame him for putting their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want me in the film? If you don't, hire somebody else. Well, Robert Downey Jr., we need you in your quirky style. Well, then this is what the market demands for me to be there.
On an individual basis, I don't disagree with it. It's also with the fact that, just the sheer number, right? is what really bothers me.
The 15 million?
15 million for 3 days worth of work. I mean, that's not even a full work week. And stuff like that really gets my.
We know you hate the rich. We're aware.
I do. Fucking eat the rich. I don't care.
So if they offered you 15 million for 3 days work, you wouldn't do it?
And see, that's what I'm talking about. The individual like circumstances in that sort of thing. You have to be a lunatic not to agree to that. You would have to be a lunatic. Okay. What's stupid to me is that these people get or feel like they have that some of them. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is among them, but definitely not as egregious as people like Chris Evans. They feel like just because they've got that kind of money, and because they do get that kind of money, and they do get the exposure, they get all of these people just kissing their ass because they're making that kind of money, because they're a celebrity, because they've been in these movies, that they feel that they have any more say in anything else other than their own personal lives than any other person, right? Like Chris Evans sitting there talking about Trump. Who the fuck cares what you think about Trump? Because you have all of this money, and because you have free publicity, and because you have a movie that people are, that people are watching, makes your opinion more valid than anyone else's? Go fuck yourself.
No, I just wish people carried the
indignation comes from.
Well, but to me, that's a matter of people with their cult of celebrity, and the social phenomenon that is the phenomenon that is the cult of celebrity. Yeah, I don't really think that your opinion is any more valid than it's like you're a great actor, Chris Evans, but I take a considered opinion on Donald Trump from somebody who actually follows these things more closely than you do through Twitter. No offense, dude, but that's the way that, so in other words, some random guy who spends a lot of time following this stuff, I would take his opinion much more seriously than yours, Chris Evans. I don't care if you got millions of dollars. I don't care about your artificially perfect hairline.
You know who thinks they're more important than they are? Mark Ruffalo. And I think we can all agree he's a douchebag.
Oh yeah, fuck Ruffalo.
I just wanted to interject something.
No, that's not an interjection. Any time of the day that somebody wants to say fuck Ruffalo, I'll go along with it. It's fine.
I thought that you were going to say Brie Larson or every writer for the Mary Sue.
You know what?
That's obvious.
I think Brie Larson she's got much more of a spotlight on her because of all the things that are going on. First female, it's like Gal Gadot didn't do any of these things. I think it's because she's not an insecure bitch. She served time in the military. She's Israeli. She knows who she is. She's got a strong sense of identity. So she doesn't need to run around all worried about her identity like you, Brie Larson. I think Brie Larson's a hollow shell of a human being inside, man. That's my call.
Anyway. Her head, like if you were to happen to see her with short hair, she looks like Drunken Uncle.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know where somebody would see Brie Larson with a butch lesbian haircut. But if you were to see Brie Larson with a butch lesbian haircut, she looks like
Drunken Uncle from the side. Guarantee it.
It shockingly works very well for her. It's almost like the kind of thing that a raccoon might even call out. I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
I suddenly feel like somebody wants to talk to my manager. Anyway.
Quiz, are you ready to cover that story we were talking about before we went live?
No, which one?
The one about crossover covers. So the answer is no. Quiz is not.
No, apparently
ready.
I'm not.
No, that's fine because that's why.
Yeah, that one. Okay, yeah, no,
that's why the Google programmers invented side chat.
Yes.
There that is right there. In the meantime, we're going to talk about as soon as my screen decides to cooperate, we're going to talk about a man in Hong Kong doing some strange shit. Right, and there it is. Man in Hong Kong reportedly beaten up outside of a cinema for leaking Avengers Endgame spoilers.
Had it coming.
Look at this guy. Doctors are like, "What the fuck, man? What'd you do?" Oh, I leaked some Endgame storyline, and then he smacked him for it. It was just, but you're the EMT. You had it coming. So anyway,
dude, in Hong Kong, he's lucky he's not dead.
Right?
Yeah, that's very true.
This is out of Asia One. The Russo brothers, directors of Avengers Endgame, may have put out an open letter on social media for the public to avoid giving spoilers, but that doesn't seem to have deterred those who have watched it. Recently, a photo has been making the rounds online showing a bloody man that seems to have been beaten up for giving out spoilers outside the cinema. It's reported that this incident happened outside of a cinema in Causeway Bay, Hong Kong. A highly anticipated film.
Hang on, Polly. Mike Parletti appropriately named this. This article should have been called Hong Kong Phooey.
Jesus. The highly anticipated film opened in theaters on the 24th of April in countries like blah, blah, blah. According to Taiwanese media, a man dressed in white who seems to have just exited the cinema after watching the 3-hour movie started revealing spoilers loudly by the entrance. Cinema goers who were waiting to enter the doors were fuming, and some reportedly went to beat the man up to teach him a lesson. The photo ignited many discussions with fans claiming that, quote, he got his just desserts served. Okay. Doesn't that say he got his just desserts served?
Dude, it's probably a translation thing. Just roll with it. He got his just desserts.
Yeah. Okay. It was dry and arid. They felt good seeing this. Okay. Some, however, questioned the authenticity of the incident, but there were also commentators on social media who came forward and claimed that they were at the scene and heard someone spoiling the plot of the film at the cinema entrance. Avengers Endgame, blah, blah, blah. If you're one of the lucky few who have watched it, the Russo brothers are very kindly ask you, don't spoil the Endgame.
This is why we'll never get UFO disclosure, because look how bad people freak out over a movie. You start telling them aliens from other planets are lurking around, they're going to burn the world down. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I would venture that the aliens are going to be the ones that burn the world down, not the other people.
Oh, no. See,
yeah,
I've got
Xeno lives don't matter. That's fine.
Well, yeah, but I have a Slim Whitman CD handy in the event it's Martians.
Okay, this is story still related to Endgame, so I forgot about this one, but I wanted to touch on it. And also relates to Red Letter Media. Anybody who follows Red Letter Media will know what I'm talking about. I can't have been the only one who noticed this. Okay, look at this. Avengers Endgame is going to make actors, agents, and studio executives' lives a lot harder. This is from Bleeding Cool. Expert level garbage tier, these fuckers. And this is written by none other than Rich Johnston himself, the head trash man at the head of the garbage heap that is Bleeding Cool. He founded the garbage heap, as a matter of fact. This article is like, it's going to make actors and agents a lot harder. Like, what are you even talking about? What the fuck are you even referring to? I'll tell you. And this is micro spoiler. The end credits sequence that runs up at the end, like meaning like where the actors' names are and shit, right? It shows the actors' signatures. Because it's kind of like the last movie that they're going to be in as a group. It's the, end game for blah, 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 so their signatures go across the screen. It's kind of classy sort of thing, You know what I sat and thought in the theater? Well, this is two fucking ways that this is ripping off Star Trek, because they already did that at the end of Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. All, William Shatner, DeForest Kelley, Leonard Nimoy, their names go across the screen as signatures because it's the final film they're all going to be in together as a group, right? And Rich Johnston, being the ignorant, dumbass, fake nerd that he is, didn't realize that. Oh, this is the first time it's ever been done. I guess you've never seen one of the best Star Trek films ever made, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. That's how the credits end. It's not original. That's where they got the idea from. And you know how I know that? Because they got the entire plot for Endgame from the final episode of Star Trek Voyager with the fucking everything. I won't spoil it,
dude. Spoiler warnings, right?
I'm just saying, if you've already seen the final episode of Star Trek Voyager, you already know the plot of fucking Avengers Endgame. You know how you know? And Mike Stacklasa pointed this out on Red Letter Media correctly. You know what the name of the final episode of Voyager was?
Endgame.
Mm-hmm. It's like they couldn't make it any more obvious, to the point where they even ripped off the final signature things from Star Trek VI. Now, as a huge Trek fan, I just felt the need to point this out.
Now, Rich Johnston, I believe, is British, isn't he?
Yeah,
Nerd.
he's
Yeah. I was trying to think of a good cheap shot about Star Trek, but couldn't come up with anything in time.
I was so glad that Mike Stacklasa pointed that out, because I thought about it too. It's like, wait a minute, this is like when Captain Janeway, and then the other thing, and like, oh my god, it's even called Endgame. I talked about it with my friend afterwards, and then the thing that got me thinking about Trek was the signature thing at the end. It was like, I'm not saying it's a direct ripoff. I just think it's an incredible coincidence. The plots.
Is there a sea monkey in it?
Was there steam? What's a steam monkey?
Sea monkey, the cook from Voyager.
He's a space leopard.
He is not a sea monkey. I've never seen a space leopard. A space leopard sounds badass because leopards are awesome. They run fast. And instead, you got this fat little hobbit guy that sits around going, "Oh, I gotta get back to the kitchen. I'm cooking something." Oh,
this is the dumbest reoccurring argument ever.
Let me point out what should be the final piece of evidence. You know what has spots? Talaxians and leopards. You know what doesn't have spots? Fucking sea monkeys.
Hey, those could be liver spots because he's so old and drinks a lot. I don't know what Felix does. He hits the wine, the sherry that he's been cooking with. I don't know.
Oh fuck. So you ready to go with that article there, Quiz?
Yes, I am.
All right then. I'm gonna present you, and you're in charge. I'll be back in just a second.
Okay.
All right.
These leopards are cool. Neelix is not.
Let it go, Jack. You're wrong. There's no fucking sea monkeys in space.
Wrong and not let it go.
Where's the water in space, Jack? How the sea monkey gonna stay alive? Don't make no sense.
That's why he got on Voyager, because every time Catherine Janeway showers, her head shakes so much that all the water comes out, and he's like, "Oh."
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. When they went to the planet on Voyager, there was entirely water. There was no land mass. It was a giant ball of water in space, a water planet. What if he's a sea monkey? How come he wasn't? Oh my god, I'm home, and beam down and never leave.
I didn't say he was smart. Dude's clearly retarded. He's a special needs sea monkey. That's not the Sea Monkey Society's fault.
But Ryan Walters says space leopard. Doesn't say leopard. Not
I was gonna say I don't think bits of Neelix fell out into his stew.
Well, you never know what the secret ingredient is, do you?
It's true. It's true.
All right, Quiz, you're up.
All right. Well, comparatively and contrastively showing here, this one is also written by Rich Johnston from Bleeding Cool. Ethan Van Sciver commissions retailer exclusive Dynamite crossover covers with Cyberfrog, beginning with Vampirella. Back in the day, retailers used to commission Star Comics creators to draw covers for an upcoming comic book, usually from DC or Marvel, that would be exclusive to their store. Each store would have to order thousands of copies to make it worthwhile for the publisher. Some enterprising artists realized that they could commission themselves to draw exclusive covers for such comics and get the publishers to print them and then sell them online or at shows, signed or unsigned, for the considerable markup. J. Scott Campbell, Rob Liefeld, John Tyler Christopher are among those creators who have done so the most, and soon the habit spread. Yeah, I remember the store exclusive covers. They would only be for like really, really big stores, or like the ones that you could really kind of get the hold on the most people that they possibly could. Now, here's another little bit of background here for Rich Johnston and Bleeding Cool in particular. This book right here, Cyberfrog Blood Honey, is Ethan Van Sciver's book that he crowdfunded. And it is is it the largest? I believe it is the largest funding for any individual comic that has ever been put on crowdfunding, I believe. If not the biggest, one of the biggest. It's earned almost $1 million. Now that's also prior to fulfillment, which I'm sure that he's going to have to spend a lot of money with fulfillment. But yeah, he's definitely got to do He's going to be spending quite a bit, but he's certainly made quite a bit. At Dynamite Entertainment, which asked for a minimum copies to be printed than a fewer minimum copies to be printed than Marvel and DC, Dan Panosian, I believe Panosian, did such for Red Sonja #1, as did Paulo Pantelia, as well as other artists for different titles. The latest, it seems, is Ethan Van Sciver, no longer working for major comics publishers and fresh from last summer's very successful Indiegogo campaign for Cyberfrog Blood Honey. The comic is yet to be published, but Ethan is now commissioning himself to draw Cyberfrog variants for Dynamite Entertainment titles, showing a cyborg amphibian interacting with other characters published at Dynamite. At one point, Vampirella and Cyberfrog were both published by Harris Publications, and Ethan had done artwork for Vampirella trading cards and inked the Vampirella Shadowhawk crossover in the day. So this wouldn't be the first time he's been involved with the character. But I hear there are more to come. One might consider Chaos, Pantha, and other Prime Cyberfrog crossover comic book cover candidates. Traditionally, creators who purchase the comics are treated the same as any retailer. Whether the creators of those books will have any say in who gets to do the retailer exclusive variant covers of their books, I don't know. But basically, that means that Ethan Van Sciver has bought hundreds of copies of the same comic with a cover he drew for a wholesale price that retailers pay, maybe around $2 each, and then gets to sell them at quite the markup. Yeah. Well, it's one way to get Cyberfrog out there, the Cyberfrog comic out there for a convention season, draw the character on the cover of someone else's comic and sell that. So if you haven't noticed, this all
Rich
the way
Johnson
up...
bitter?
Well, all the way up until the last two sentences was really fair to Ethan and Cyberfrog. This right here sounds like he started getting a little bitter. just a little bit.
You know what? That's funny. We had the same sort of interpretation reading it. I'm like, this is oddly balanced. He's just sort of explaining how it works, and then all of a sudden jabs him in the gut at the end. Like,
yeah. It's like, oh, you don't have your comic book out yet? Maybe this is how you can get it out for convention season. That's the thing. I don't think Ethan has any plans on doing conventions. And what this says to me, at least, hearing this news, is that Ethan is so close to finishing Cyberfrog that this is promotional material that he can put out for Cyberfrog. You know? I don't know. It just seems that way to me, but I don't know. I was shocked reading this, that Rich Johnston was that fair to Ethan. I mean, that last sentence is a little salty, but the rest of it, I was kind of shocked. But then again, this is also like, we gotta set the stage here too. Rich Johnston and Bleeding Cool are very much of the social justice bent, very biased in a lot of what they do. Now, bounding into comics, they're also biased in the opposite way. I found they're probably a little bit more fair than Bleeding Cool has ever been, but they're also biased. But it was kind of odd, because I think this is like one of the only, other than just the announcement for Blood Honey, this is like the only other time that Bleeding Cool has ever talked about Cyberfrog.
That's actually a good question. Whether or not, I don't know.
They don't talk about it much because Ethan made a lot of money, and they hate him because he's a wrong thinker.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, I'm not a huge Ethan Van Sciver fan, but they need to respect the fact that he raised almost $1 million. Probably will raise more than $1 million by the time this third GoFundMe's done, or Indiegogo, whatever. And if he continues to produce comics that make a lot of money, he's going to be very influential for at least a while in the comics industry. So they can't afford to burn too many bridges with him.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting take on it. Like, that he's like trying to be kind of not friendly, but like I'm at least covering the largest crowdfunded comic book of all time. Because I mean, pros, quote unquote, that are still in the industry, meaning like still have contracts with one of the big two, they or whatever, not just the big two, other comic companies as well, they will do crowdfunded stuff, and it won't come near remotely the success of Cyberfrog. But let's leave Cyberfrog alone for a second. It won't come close to fucking your boy Zach's, Richard Myers comic books. or graphic novels, like the 2 that he's done so far, and he's got more coming. And it's like, it seems off, and people say that. It's like, why aren't any of these garbage tier media sites that are supposedly just talking about comic books, why are you talking about like this kind of unprecedented thing when it comes to crowdfunding? Nobody is doing this well, and it's a new push. And it's like, so why? And it's like, well, it's politics, man. It really is. It's like, who do you like? Who's in the in group and who's in the out group? We don't talk about those guys because the people, we are access media. We're totally garbage tier. We rely on information from comic book publishers, and they don't want us talking about these guys, so we won't.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. I would say I think it was kind of like either a slow news day, or they just begrudgingly had to acknowledge Ethan for, for that because of what he was doing, and it's wider implications for Dynamite.
Yeah, it's good for both. Ethan gets to promote his book, and Dynamite really can use the help a little bit there. Their sales haven't been the greatest because they have mediocre artists and writers more often than not. But they do produce some good books, so this helps both parties pretty considerably.
Yeah.
And they might be working on some future deal to maybe, do something else together in the future, like a crossover or something. You got to remember all the licenses that Dynamite has are pretty impressive. So they could conceivably be working out something else behind the scenes that might be more influential down the road.
Well, it's an interesting idea. I never really thought of it along those lines, where it's like, what happens if some of them are thinking, do we really, like, not just Van Sciver, because I think some people take their opinion of Van Sciver being the end all be all of comicsgate. He's not. Yeah, he's not. That is not meant to say that he's not the guy with the highest notoriety. He clearly is, in comicsgate, and there's no question about that. But as if he's the only one, and he's totally not. I mean, if it was just Van Sciver alone talking on Twitter, comicsgate wouldn't be a thing. It's all of these fucking people, like largely consumers.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing that always bugged me about when people got really hung up on the whole, how do we define comicsgate? It was like, well, is it just prose, or shouldn't it involve prose? And it's like, why couldn't it involve both? It's a general movement of distaste about the industry. And I didn't really like when people tried to literally own it in some cases, like Van Sciver tried to do by
literally owning it.
Yeah, literally.
By literally owning the name Comicsgate to, in his opinion, like to trademark it, to stop what's his name from trademarking it. What's his name?
Fox Day.
Yeah, Vox Day. Vox Day wanted to do Comicsgate publishing. Well, I don't really think Vox Day really gives a damn one way or another. It was just something he could jump on. And then I think a lot of people kind of got bent out of shape when Van Sciver buys it, but he says, I bought it just to protect it. It's not like I'm going to, he said, it's not like I'm going to go after people for using the name Comicsgate. I'm not. I just don't want that guy owning it, because he will go after people, he said. Van Sciver hasn't done it yet, like i.e. gone after somebody for infringing upon something he owns, but I guess we'll have to wait and see whether or not he changes his mind on that. We'll know later. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that there are a lot of people that misread Van Sciver's intentions and his actions. I don't think they're nearly as malicious as some people might think or claim that they are. Is that to say that he can do no wrong? Absolutely not. Everyone can do wrong.
Well, you get burned by enough of these creators, you have to look at them all through that prism of, is he playing a game? Is he toying with us? Yeah. So I get the concern there. I share those concerns too. But
when it comes to Van Sciver, we talked about this off stream. I don't think people take this into account. Take Ethan Van Sciver at his word, what he literally says about himself, and don't forget about it. He says, I'm a guy who does not have a low opinion of himself. I'm arrogant. I talk big, big ego. Yeah, don't forget that. Like, he says it about himself. You have to take those things into account, man. Like, take him at his word that he's a big talking, gregarious guy. He absolutely is. Yeah, so when he says stuff like that, take it into account. He's a big talker. So, chill the fuck out. Is my call.
An arrogant person with a temper also could, on a whim, wield his authority with the trademark to strike somebody down in a moment of passion.
Well, I hear your point, and it's a well-taken point, but I would say in response to that, you can't have a flash of anger for a year to year and a half to 2 year legal action.
You don't have to. You can have a flash of anger, call your lawyer, and have a cease and desist sent out to someone and destroy their reputation within hours.
No, that's true. That part of it's true. The cease and desist thing, it could be done quickly, but there's no way that anybody's going to be able to maintain a flash of anger once they start getting bills every month from their lawyer about how much it's costing to pursue this thing. Yeah.
How long has that Mueller thing been going?
Well, that wasn't a flash of anger. Well,
I would. That's not a flash of anger, really?
Nope, I don't.
Some Democrats about that. Who's supposed to be president?
I don't think it's a flash of anger at all, Jack. I think it's a deeply seated problem and a mental condition that they've worked themselves into. It's nothing flashy about it. It's not of the moment. It's not temporary.
I don't know. I don't trust celebrities. I don't trust people that are really arrogant. So I just, he's already said, I own comicsgate. That's fine. He owns it. But we'll wait and see what happens with it, since he owns the trademark to it. But I always suspect of people with that kind of power.
Well, who's what would people actually use it for in a trademark sort of sense?
Well, Fox Day was trying to open.
He was going to create
comicsgate Comicsgate
he already has a comic publishing group, Arcaven. He was going to create an imprint series under called comicsgate.
Yeah,
sort of like DC has the New Age of Heroes line and the Wonder Comics, and Marvel had New Universe. It's going to create an imprint like that.
Yeah. And Ethan took it upon himself to make sure that Vox Day would not be associated with comicsgate. Not, in my opinion, a bad move.
Not entirely, no, but again, you went from somebody saying he can't own it to I own it.
To I own it. Yeah, that's the one bit where I reserve judgment about how it's going to play out.
That made me a little nervous that somebody decided they own a movement.
Mm-hmm.
Quiz's name isn't Jack, it's Zoltar. There, he's doxed. Fuck, guys. There was a piece of evidence that I want to just throw up here. So points for your consideration, chat. Okay, look. So there's Neelix. All right. It's fine, Quiz. Just let it happen.
Yeah, Sea Monkey. Very obviously.
No, hold on. There's Neelix. Okay. There's a leopard.
Yep. Those two look nothing alike at all.
Now you tell. No, hold on. Now you look at this. There's the sea monkey that Jack thinks looks so much like Neelix. Where's the spots? Where's the fur? Where's the ears? He didn't even have fucking ears, and he ain't got no dick neither, and she ain't got no tits. Like these people. These are
tail in the way.
Well, no, because you can see the boy ain't got no dick neither. So there you go.
It hides up inside them, just like other animals do.
In any case, we're talking about the face. It's like no ears, no fur, no spots.
Talking about the face or the behavior? How do you know how he identifies?
Well, regardless of how he identifies.
Are you speciesing Neelix, the sea monkey, the space sea monkey?
He's not a motherfucker. He's a space leopard. Look at the leopard. Look,
go back to that leopard picture, spots. And then back to Neelix. They look nothing alike.
Are you kidding? Look. Hold on. Look.
Fangs and claws. Where were Neelix's fangs and claws?
Pointed, tuft ears. His teeth are sharp. He's got dots all over the place, and he's got fur. Now look
me a second. I'm just gonna jump in front of that train. I'll be right back.
He's clearly a space leopard. Look.
He's not a space leopard. He doesn't look remotely frightening or intimidating. He looks more like
look at his skin color. It's yellow and brown, just like a fucking leopard.
Like he's gonna prance down the aisleway. That thing will stalk you and eat your face. Whereas Neelix won't. Neelix will be like, "Oh my gosh, it's scary! I'm gonna go make some sausages."
Are you kidding? Look, as opposed to the fucking sea monkey. He don't look like the fucking sea monkey.
With me, and so is Kyle.
Okay, Ranting Monkey will agree with anybody that causes me the most dyspepsia. That's just how he rolls. All right. So that's not relevant here. And this is Kyle. I got to agree with Jack now. This is he's a snarf.
Look at that dead sea monkey there. See how poofy and questionable he looks. Look at the way he's standing, all relaxed and non-threatening. That's what Neelix looks like. Non-threatening. They live in a little chateau under the sea.
Whatever.
Yeah, fellas with me. Thank you. Yep. So it's Evolved Potato. See, all the smart people are with me.
I love this ad. They can swim, play, scoot, race, and do comical tricks and stunts. Brine Shrimp can? Really?
Yeah.
It's just so full of lies. So easy to grow. Even an 8-year-old child can do without help. I remember seeing these ads in comics when I was a little kid. And it scared the shit out of me that something that, like, you get them in a package and you put them in there and they just grow. Like, it was weird. It was creepy. It was the monkey family raise a sea monkey family consisting of a mom, a dad, and their babies in an ordinary milk glass. Yuck. Ugh. Look, they can even be, quote, trained.
Yeah, right. How?
You are probably correct that Neelix is not a sea monkey because he looks way lamer than the sea monkeys. But I still say he's a special needs sea monkey.
No. This is clearly a space leopard.
That is not clearly a space leopard anything.
It really
I don't know in what universe you think that Neelix looks like a space leopard.
In this one,
look at that.
He does.
He looks like he's a mime at a glory hole. A sea monkey mime at a glory hole.
Oh my god, that was so disgusting and funny. Holy shit.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, right. On a completely
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
But now I get to put it into the tags for this stream. Mimes and glory holes. That's fun.
Yes.
All right, look, check it out. Adidas unveils Thanos-inspired sneakers.
Oh, God.
Oh, that is so racist. Yeah, when I saw this article, I thought of one thing that I don't think anybody's going to mention other than us. These are basically buying Hitler shoes.
I can't wait for the dark side shoes to be put up by Nike.
Ooh.
Do you think they picked this picture because it looks like Thanos is spreading gay love throughout the galaxy?
Well, I mean, he does.
He does?
Oh.
Unless you have proof that Thanos is homosexual, we're just going to leave that alone. Okay, so let's take a look at this.
He's pining after a woman that's already taken, man. He's not gay. He's just a cuck.
Lady Death is not taken. Lady Death isn't a lady.
Lady Death was taken by Deadpool. Thank you very much.
Oh, man, anything Deadpool doesn't fucking count, man. So anyway, there's
see Polly's bias. All right, we got it.
It's purple, and it's got the Infinity Stones back there. So
it should show that sneaker standing in a pile of ashes at Auschwitz.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't like that shoe. Purple's a great color, but this whole thing is just, let's make $5 while people aren't paying attention very closely. That's what I see here.
Jack Gunsky, Thanos is gay. I smell a doctorate dissertation.
Right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, in certain communication studies, that would totally be viable. Oh, I wanted to bring up that picture that I grabbed.
He's Space Hitler. He dusted all those people, and no one gets that analogy.
Yeah, Peter brought up wanting to fuck someone's GF or wife isn't cucking. No, see, that's the thing. Thanos thinks that Lady Death is his. And Deadpool is cucking Thanos by fucking death.
All right.
Oh, Thanos might be a sea monkey too, according to Sad Boy.
You guys got to tell me when I leave myself
I will
presented.
do some more research.
Now what should I cover first? The inexplicable comic book or Darth Vader killing stalkers? What do you think?
Well, I mean, everyone's already talked about the Darth Vader thing. I mean, we could probably, breeze through that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you guys read the comic?
Yes.
I grabbed a part. I'm not talking about me. I'm thinking about chat, man. They're here too.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying I think that would be an interesting line of conversation.
The comic book, the inexplicable comic book, or the Vader whacking out broads?
The Vader skewering lunatics.
Well, here's the thing. The Mary Sue has a problem with it. I know, right? Hard to guess, but they do. Right? So
someone called Gail Simone. A woman's been defiled in a comic book.
This has been a hot week for Mary Sue pointless outrage, huh?
dude, we have to wonder, how cold does Vader keep his meditation chamber? Is it cold enough to be a refrigerator?
Yes,
nice.
Clearly.
Nice. So Star Wars's new Vader comic seems to take a swipe at female fans, and the fandom is not happy. Now,
the fandom meaning like 5 or 6 retards on Twitter.
Right. And you know what kills me about that is it's like takes a swipe at female fans. These are people that take pictures of themselves with fanboy tears coffee mugs, and they're sipping on it, giving a wink. Like, they adore taking swipes at male fans. The majority of comic consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we don't take a swipe at the female fans, Joe. There's so few of us, and we're precious snowflakes. I guess.
Not only that, is that like, okay, if you identify yourself with the character in question in this comic, you are a fucking lunatic. Okay.
I don't even get the point of this character in this comic. I'll show you guys a panel from it, because honestly, it's not worth reading anyway, unless you want to read it for like, Kex kind of thing.
Oh, no, I recommend everyone read this comic. Don't pay for it, obviously. You don't want to give Marvel your money, but absolutely read this comic. Like, go to your comic store, pick it up off the rack, and read it.
Yeah, okay, let's see what they have to say about this. Well, Star Wars novels have featured more women writing them. The franchise's installments of blah, blah, blah. The plot follows an unnamed Imperial nurse who is in love with Darth Vader, though he doesn't know she exists. She fantasizes not only about them fighting rebels and being romantic together, but about him punishing those who would hurt her. She steals bits and pieces of his suit left over from surgeries, which is admittedly off-putting. Oh, you admit that? And when she is discovered by her superior, he throws out her treasures. Distraught over the loss, the protagonist, right? I forgot.
Yeah.
Chris had a big problem with this woman being identified as the protagonist.
It was like this bitch that's writing this article is calling her a protagonist. Okay, number one, there's like, if you're talking about like a quote good guy within this comic, there is no good guy. Vader is obviously the villain. He's been the villain ever since he was created, and is a villain all the way up until his redemption in Return of the Jedi, right? So like it or not, okay, whose name is on the book, you dumb bitch?
Excuse me.
That's who the protagonist is.
A villain assumes the colonialist idea that there is good and evil. And that is just not okay. You are making assumptions based off of cishet white normative norms or something.
I'm just saying, man, whose name is on the comic? I mean, she doesn't even get a name.
Well, that's a hate fact.
The protagonist. Okay, let's just get done with this. The protagonist, who has been adopted by fans and named Day after Christy Day from Phantom of the Opera, is treated miserably by the narrative. She's not only given a name or a backstory. She's not given a name or a backstory of any kind. She's portrayed as being obsessive, almost pathetic.
Yes.
Can you see why people the writers of the Mary Sue would have a problem with a female character who's both obsessive and pathetic.
Well, they're all
You're talking
wondering
about me.
who's gonna feed her cats. Her space cats, not Neelix, because he's not one.
With the art visualizing her as being both manic and laughable, with much like their writing. It's a sexist comic that shows women as being ridiculous, with fantasies being a sign of a troubled mind. This is not to say that Vader should have accepted her love and her problematic behavior, or that he shouldn't have reacted in the way he did. He is the villain after all, but I guarantee a male character who idolized Vader and who wanted to be like him would not have been treated like some sort of pseudo Harley Quinn. Oh, sorry, quiz. But rather a realized character who idolizes a villain and who would be blah, 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 blah.
Say, all it says to me saying pseudo Harley Quinn means that this person doesn't know what she's fucking talking about. Right? Because she's saying that Harley Quinn is just some sidekick character. While she started off that way in the animated series, she has evolved to far beyond that and is a great, interesting, and complex, tragic character.
Quiz is calling into question the writer's nerd cred.
Yes, I
You're
am
doing that to a woman.
If this woman thinks that she is as good, or if not better than what I am claiming she is, she has every right to defend herself, just like any other man, and I would not expect any less.
Defend herself? Oh, that's such patriarchy.
Well, I don't care. She's fucking wrong, and she's insulting everyone's intelligence with her shitty writing and awful article. I say article, but it's really more of a blog.
Speaking of the article/blog, it is a blog in question. Female fans are deeply upset by the story. Oh yeah, really? How many? And they took to Twitter.
Oh no!
Really? Oh my God! Call it the fire department. And they took to Twitter to call out Star Wars for the way the character was treated. This seemed to be calling out and mocking female fans who like to or identify with villainous characters, which is a sizable portion of the fandom for a franchise that celebrates male villains like Vader, Boba Fett, and miscellaneous stormtroopers, blah, blah, blah. You guys are bad. I'm sure I'll be labeled a hypocrite for this because of my open dislike of certain villains and ships associated with them, but there's nothing good that's in this comic. Women don't need morality tales about how bad boys will actually blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you got more beef. Oh, I like this is a great paragraph right here. Okay, check this out. Similarly, in real life, men are allowed to creepily comment on how much they love Carrie Fisher in Leia's Hut Slayer outfit, previously known as her slave Leia outfit. What?
Previously known, just because
Who
you
the
don't
fuck
call
ever
her,
called it
yeah,
a Hut Slayer outfit? Really?
Yeah, just because you don't like calling her slave Leia does not mean that everyone else acknowledges it now as Hut Slayer, bitch. Everyone still calls it slave Leia.
No, it's so empowering. The Hut Slayer. Oh, it doesn't sound remotely sexual at all.
And the idea is so obvious to empower her, right? It's like she's wearing a what's modeled after a Middle Eastern harem outfit. Mm-hmm. It's clear.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. She's harem Leia, and thus turned into a slave girl. That's the whole point. Princess Leia, who's Princess Leia, like she's one, a princess, and two, Leia Organa, not to be fucked with. She's strong, independent woman. You know, she absolutely is, like in an unironic sense.
Who needed a man, because that's what she did. She went to go and get her man.
Well, and notice he needed the rescuing, not her. She's no damsel.
Yeah.
And so she saw an opportunity. You're not gonna make me a slave. She used her own chain to strangle him. It was hardcore. You don't need to read into it. Everything is right there on the surface that you need to know.
No, those chains represented the bonds of patriarchy, and she was using them to strangle the evil penis with.
So
I get that right? Is that what that meant?
Yes, okay. I would not disagree with any of that, I guess. Fandom politics are difficult to explain. Oh, shut up. And I'm not about to get into a debate on those. The bottom line is that this is a sexist character depiction. Her fantasies of being admired for capable, romantic, and ultimately powerful are mocked for being crazy. She is treated by the creatives as being insane and not a heroine, but rather as a joke. She's not a heroine.
She's not a heroine.
By the way, This phrase here, creatives, you mean the writers, the artists?
Yeah.
Because people don't want to be known as writers, artists. They collectively refer to them as creatives now. Have you heard this phrase? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So why don't we look at the offending panels, right? So here it is. Here's Vader, right? He's hanging out. His face, I've seen it in my dreams 1,000 times. So many different visions. None of them like this. Could have prepared me. Don't cover it up, my lord, she says with her Ocasio-Cortez eyes. You're beautiful, so much more perfect than I could have guessed. And now that I've finally seen you, the real you, now that I know the man, you don't have to be alone. Look at those Cortez eyes, man. I'm yours, now and forever. We can be together. And Vader gives her the lightsaber right through the chest.
Wah, wah.
Add Darth Vader to the bridge. Come and get this garbage out of my quarters. The end. Wow. Jesus. When I read this, I was like, what? This is the direction you're taking this comic? Like, okay, Vader's a villain and he killed this woman. Like, did you actually write a comic book around this character obsessing over Vader? So I read the whole thing and I'm like, yeah, so it's about an insane woman. This is just a bad story. I don't even really care so much about the portrayal and all of the Mary Sue-isms reading into it. And she's the hero and she's not insane. She just has fantasies. Excuse me. This is an insane person.
You'll see exactly how insane she is if you read the comic, because she is Looney Tunes. She's single white female crazy.
Yeah. She's like got this one scene where she's like picturing herself being a Sith Lord choking the life out of her boss. It's like it reads like a school, like the diary of a school shooter.
Yeah. It's actually not that bad of a comic.
No, it's not.
Are you sure?
It's okay. Yeah. It's actually a lot better than I expected.
Yeah. Same.
It's kind of mediocre, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever read. I'll probably read it again just to be sure, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty well done for a one shot. I mean, it's just a self-contained story.
Yeah. They talk about the original Chuck Wendig. It's worth noting that Chuck Wendig was originally slated to write this Vader series prior to being fired by Marvel.
Hang on, we have to just savor this little bit here, Polly. We have to, right? Because she says, I may be a hypocrite in this, but this is really sexist because they're killing a female character. In the original comic by Chuck Wendig, it was made to be a male. What? Really?
That would have made it okay.
Are you going to immediately now retract everything that you've just fucking said in the beginning of this whole goddamn just fucking toilet bowl full of verbal diarrhea? Just because you are now admitting the fact that the original script by Chuck Wendig says that it was originally supposed to be a man that was obsessing over Darth Vader, and he got the exact same treatment.
Maybe he did or not. I mean, it's before he was fired by Marvel, as I was saying, that he tweeted out his original idea for the story was a male morgue attendant who became obsessed with Vader, and yet it was changed to a woman. Like, I hear your point, Quiz. Like, would that have changed your opinion here, Mary Sue Ryder, as to what was going on? I don't even, personally, I just don't trust Chuck Wendig that was even the thing. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It just shows the lack of faith that I have in anything that guy says, because he's such a self-promoting virtue signaler online. I was like, you wrote this story? Well, I was slated to write those comics, and my idea was this. Did you even have this idea at all, Chuck? Like, maybe you did, but there's so much doubt with this guy.
And so he said, this is Chuck Wendig's actual quote here.
Okay.
Apropos of absolutely nothing, my issue 3 of Shadow of Vader was about a toxic fanboy, a morgue attendant on the Death Star, who became obsessed with Vader and didn't end well for him, obviously. I thought it was good, and sorry you won't see it. Onward we go. Yes, It was exactly the same story, but gender swapped.
I love it. It was a toxic fanboy. So all the stereotypes of what a obsessive male would be like. It's like, so they made the story about an obsessive female instead, and that's deeply insulting. You're only really mad because it was a woman then, really.
Well, it's because they're also seeing themselves in this character, obviously, because that's exactly what she fucking says in the article.
Well, to be fair, it is a pretty frumpy woman, so they probably do identify a little more with this sad, lonely lady that's desperate for love and collects things off of people that she wants to date.
I'm just saying these people are fucking transparent. They're absolutely just they're Nazis, guys. That you cannot see them. They're transparent entirely because everything that she said is I identified with this character. How dare they kill her in so ignominious sort of way that makes me feel bad because I identified with a completely pathetic and worthless character. Well, guess what? I'm not going to be the one to tell you it, but if you ever come across Comic Book Curation, writer for Mary Sue, that's exactly what you are.
No, they're Gail Simone's cats. I told you that.
Yes.
I cracked the code months ago, dude.
Yes, yeah.
They are literally cats at typewriters going meow 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 meow.
So, well, it's time to do it.
Sith Lord Meowington.
Quiz, you got to give me your word. You're going to remain calm and let me get through a few sentences.
Oh man, I haven't been calm this whole episode.
I know, but
I know. It's wait, buddy, buckle in.
Oh no!
I just said, keep it calm.
Okay, I'll try.
All right,
I will try.
This is from Salon, so we're talking
Salon.
Top tier garbage tier here.
Okay.
Well funded, progressive, racist garbage. Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. The Punisher Skull, unofficial logo of the white American death cult.
Well, I mean, the death cults in Warhammer use the skull because it's the face of the Emperor. So, you know. Yeah.
Well, here we go. White Americans appear to have enlisted in the death cult. I want to
really.
I want before we go any
further. Where's the mass recruitment? I
need to see that in the newsletter. White People Monthly.
David,
it's a bi-weekly publication. Jack, come on.
Oh.
David Mascarita. I really don't care to pronounce this guy's name correctly because fuck this guy. I've looked it up and he is people like, oh, you hate America. No, this guy legit hates America.
Yeah.
Like he has found publication opportunities in writing as such. I don't know. I can't read his mind, but if you look up this guy's name, Masciotra, David Mascoriatra, whatever. Jesus Christ. Just over and over again, this fucking guy. And he's very progressive, hates Trump, everything's racist, and yes, he's white himself, because of course he is. He's signaling his virtue.
Mm-hmm. That
first sentence, white Americans appear to have enlisted into a death cult. That is mind-blowingly racist.
Yeah.
And it can't, in my opinion, can't be understood as anything but. It's like, talk about judging people as a group, et cetera, et cetera. No, you don't need to explain it. Just look at it. White Americans appear to have enlisted in a death cult. Like, are you fucking crazy to have written that?
Oh,
and he's talking about...
Keep going.
No, I've read the whole thing. I know. If one drives around the suburbs or rural outposts removed from the major metropolitan area, it quickly becomes apparent that in their zest and zeal for violence, countless whites have begun to brandish the Punisher skull, typically with red, white, and blue stripes on their automobiles and clothing. T-shirts at the gym, bumper stickers of minivans with children riding as passengers, and baseball caps all display the menacing skull, proving that it has become ubiquitous in the United States. Several companies, including blah, 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 have made millions selling apparel with the ghoulish image.
My favorite bit about that, wait, you didn't want to say the thin blue line? That's what you blah, blah, blah?
I thought it was going to start listing companies that had done merch for it, so I didn't care, but it was only the one, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. The one thing I think is hilarious about that whole paragraph is the bumpers of minivans. That's exactly what I think of when I think of horrible death cult vigilantes as minivan.
You know what I thought of when they said that? Those little stickers of the stick figures, you know?
Yeah.
Only it was the Punisher and a couple of graves next to it where his family was.
I would so buy that.
It is intentionally stereotypical and racist on purpose. When one drives around the suburbs or rural outposts removed from major metropolitan areas, let's read that as he meant it.
Rural outposts.
Yeah, let's read that as he meant it. When you ride around the place where rich white folks and white trash live, not where the righteously oppressed people of color live. Like, why not metropolitan areas? Well, because POCs live there. It's only in the suburbs where the yuppies and out in rural outposts where the rednecks live that this is seen.
I guarantee you I could drive around downtown Chicago and find several people with Punisher skulls on their cars.
Yeah. Lots of black folks love Punisher. I mean, come on.
It's just clearly those people are restocking the Cracker Outpost from the sector outside in the rural area.
Yeah. So the Punisher symbol originates from the Marvel comic book story of Frank Castle. Explain to me how comics work, David motherfucker you. Explain to me this stuff. I should need to hear all about this because you understand comics so well that you'll be able to explain the nuances of how they're. I'll just go on.
Oh man, no. Read the rest of this fucking paragraph. I read ahead a little bit.
Into it. It's wrote about the celebration of a skull in his memoir, American Sniper. We all. Jesus Christ, I just got lost reading. Let me start over again. Okay. The Punisher symbol originates with the Marvel comic book story of Frank Castle. After Castle's wife and children are murdered by career criminals, he adopts the Punisher's moniker in his quest to eradicate crime without interference from the liberal cocks who wrote the Bill of Rights and the prissy naifs who enforce protections for American citizens, such as the irritating regulation of prohibiting police officers from summarily executing criminal suspects without a trial. Oh, my God.
I absolutely love it. I mean, this is also, by the way, coming from a liberal, right? I love how this person feels so comfortable with parroting a straw man of the opposition that is so patently false as if it were rote, right? That you can absolutely tell what kind of person this is just from this paragraph, and makes every single other thing that this person says in the entirety of this article completely worthless.
So then he goes on to talk about Chris Kyle because, fuck America and all the people that fought on her behalf, right? Chris Kyle, deceased Navy SEAL sniper and patron saint of the American death cult. Seriously, for real, go fuck yourself, man. Like, fuck. Wrote about the celebration of the skull in his memoir, American Sniper. Quote, we all thought what the Punisher did was cool. He righted wrongs. He killed bad guys. He made wrongdoers fear him. We spray painted the Punisher skull on our hammers and body armor and our helmets and our guns on our Hummers, not hammers, on our Hummers and body armor and our helmets and all of our guns. And we spray painted it on every building or wall we could. We wanted people to know we're here and we want to fuck with you. The beauty of Kyle's prose could bring a tear to the reader's eyes. Jerry Conway, the Punisher's co-creator, is crying tears, not of joy, but of anger and disappointment. Responding to the late Kyle's praise of the character, Conway said, I don't think he understood the fundamental truth that the Punisher is not a man to admire or emulate. Conway also explained that Castle's mission, and especially his tactics, were morally dubious. Yeah, of course they are. Who doesn't get that? Yeah. The Punisher's identity oscillates between unconventional crusader for justice and psychotic vigilante, torturing and massacring anyone he so much suspects of wrongdoing. Castle's a combat veteran, which likely contributes to the active duty military personnel relating to him. By the way, the cult of the white cult of death are the active duty military personnel. The white cult of death, according to this author. Remember that.
Apparently,
but with typical right-wing acuity, The Skull sporting crowd rejects the complexity of the character. Garth Ennis, one of the later writers of the comic book, explained that Castle's experience as a Marine weakens as much as it strengthens him. It provides him with resolve, expert training, and physical bravery, but it simultaneously pollutes his thinking, reducing his criteria for decision-making to might makes right. He comes to see war as an answer to all of his problems, Ennis said.
Man,
that might be why people are seeing him as the patron saint of the White Death cult.
Leave Garth Ennis's name out of your fucking filthy mouth. You do not get to quote Garth Ennis on anything, dude.
Okay.
It is difficult to quantify with precision, but a large percentage of Americans, mostly white men,
the worst kind,
do not have the interpretive skill to comprehend a comic book. Jesus fucking Christ, I can't
go
believe I just
fuck
said
yourself, you condescending smug cunt. Fuck you.
A large percentage of Americans, mostly white men, don't have the interpretive skill to comprehend a comic book. Imagine if I said comic books are not made for black people because the majority of black people do not have the interpretive skill to comprehend one. Imagine if I had said that.
I'm pretty sure
how did this make it past your editorial staff?
Yeah,
David Marashka. How the fuck did this make it past your editorial staff? Because they're a bunch of flaming fucking racists like you. That's how.
Yeah, Polly, you can scroll up and for one click, you can donate $1.99 to him.
What?
Support. Scroll down.
Down? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. I can't believe, I thought the first sentence was bad enough about the White Death cult thing, but those white men don't even have the interpretive skill to comprehend a comic book.
Yeah. No, seriously.
And as a consequence, are knowingly or unknowingly celebrating a symbol of a character who, if actually existed, would be a serial killer living as a fugitive from the law.
No one doesn't think that. Okay? Every single person that has ever read any of the Punisher stuff, by the way, not all of the comics have him murdering people as just, fucking wrote like in the fucking R-rated movie. Okay, he's not running around just absolutely murdering people. There are some people that, yes, he does murder, but every single time that they ever bring up in the comics where he's doing that sort of thing, it is always in moral question. Every single fucking time. Okay,
I put the article in chat in case somebody wants to tweet at this guy, his Twitter account, or just, I'm not going to say that because that'll be like targeted hatred and so forth. In case you want to tweet out your opinion about this article, I certainly do not suggest that you tweet at him because this is exactly the kind of coward that would report you for hate speech or something.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely just quote the article and say this article is absolute trash. Don't say anything about
it's not even just it's just full of bile and racist hatred. And you're white, which tells us what? You're full of extreme self-hate, buddy. Whatever your problems are, handle them in therapy, not in public.
Yeah, well, I think we're overlooking one thing. He's talking about the Punisher symbol as being the symbol of a death cult. Now, I'd like to point out something that we've been overlooking this entire time. And this got me thinking. Clearly, the Mary Sue is full of the Cat Lady Death cult. That is something I am going to start saying, that there is a Cat Lady Death cult out there. It has infiltrated many progressive sites and pushed a lot of this kind of nonsense. He might actually be one of the minions of the Cat Lady Death cult.
Oh, I guarantee you he is. Oh, that's a good point. Here, I'm just going to take this article here. I'm going to open it up. And then I'm going to go and take his name. And then I'm going to go to the Mary Sue.
Following the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, America has dropped tens of thousands of bombs on 7 countries, invaded 2 countries, and conducted special forces. Death and destruction from above does not come cheap. According to a recent study, what the fuck are you fucking talking about? What has this got to do with the Punisher Skull? And the death cult you believe the majority of American men have joined.
Well,
much of Trump's support derives from white America's fear of what sociologists have called the browning of America. Mexican immigrants have become the targets of the most intense hatred from the American right.
The browning of America.
In Mexico, there is a holiday, the Day of the Dead. Mexicans construct skeletal figures and with wild colors and do so to pay tribute to their deceased loved ones. Skeletons represent the cycle of life and death. Oh, but it's not a death cult, though.
Oh,
right?
wait, what was it? No, that just means that Mexicans are part of the white death cult. Obviously.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they do have skulls painted on them a lot.
Yeah.
I can't read this full thing. I just like.
Oh yeah, no, it's several paragraphs full of nothing but garbage.
That sounds like it's a whole article full of garbage.
Yes.
When I read this, I was like, what are you talking about? I thought he was talking about the military in some roundabout way, because he kept talking about Chris Kyle and how when he was in the army or whatever, or special forces, they were putting the symbol out there.
Well, it's psychological warfare.
Right? Yeah, that's what Kyle was saying, but this guy's an idiot. Whoever read this does not grasp the concept of warfare.
Yeah.
How will you pay for it remains the most repeated bromide in reaction to the sensible proposals from Elizabeth Warren and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The sensible proposals. The sensible proposals.
Well, I wonder what sensible proposal he's talking about. Is he talking about the Green New Deal?
Probably.
I mean, that would have about as much connection to anything else in this story. I mean, he's sitting there making the claim of a white death cult, but then providing no fucking evidence at all. I mean, you would think that if they're a death cult, that they would be killing people, right? Surprisingly, a low body count.
The visuals of the Punisher symbol is slowly killing them in their hearts and in their souls. Oh. So clearly it's a slow form of death, but there's many victims. Many victims. My
favorite bit is the whole browning of America. Who put America on the burner? I mean, we haven't even started the sides yet. Come on.
We haven't voted on, is it going to be well done, medium rare?
Obviously medium rare. I mean,
I don't remember. Did we vote on that?
You just got to brown it and then serve it, man.
I can't believe that this guy would write this fucking line. I want to put it in chat just to like he meant it as an offhanded statement of like, this is like a Bill Maher style ownership. I'm going to crack a stupid fucking joke because I'm hilarious. Except it's racist as fuck.
See,
look at that. The problem, a large percentage of Americans, mostly white men, do not have the interpretive skill to comprehend a comic book. Like, dude, it's meant as a joke, and it's meant for him to be edgy, and he's writing at Salon, which is like the height of progressivism, and they see themselves as Vanity Fair, where it's like, oh, we're the height of popular culture, all these interesting ideas, or they think they're like an Algonquin round table of intellect, these fuckers. Of course they're not. But that's why the guy's writing stuff like this. And that made it past your editorial board, that line. Yeah. They actually read this and said, yeah, that's funny. That's good. Like, are you fucking kidding me? If that was written about anybody else, white women even, it would have what the fuck is wrong with you people?
The thing about it is that the reason why the shit is okay is because it's being said by a white man. There's this sort of mentality where it's only okay if you are talking down to what you are. Like, imagine that this sort of thing was said about black people. Okay, it'd be incredibly fucking racist. Okay, but if it was said by a black person, no one would say anything.
I'm sad that you're.
I love how he says right here. Oscar Wilde once said, "Irony is wasted on the stupid. It's also wasted on the racist."
Notice how the whole thing is like, because I think if confronted with this, and if one of his apologists or editors were confronted with that statement, it would be, well, he said a large percentage of Americans. He didn't just say, well, no, he said mostly white men, that other people are incompetent, but let's focus on that. Fine. I'll give you that. A large percentage of Americans. Could you self-righteous, elitist, liberal fucks at Salon, you writer, you editors, all the people that allowed this to go on and didn't take the article down because it's obviously still up and they're proud of it and happy with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Tell me how you're not looking down at Americans in such a way that you're willing to describe them like this. You don't even have, like, it's not that you can't read it. No, I guess you can read it, but you don't have the brain power to interpret it. You don't possess those mental faculties to understand that. Only we, up on the high hill of intellect, can explain these things to you ignorant dolts down there. Now let me start talking about Afghanistan and what an evil America wrought around the world and all of these other things, because you're part of a white death cult and you don't understand how woke we are up on the top of Mount Brilliance here.
You want me to blow your mind here, Polly? This entire article, he doesn't cite or talk about any specific comic at all. He quotes Garth Ennis talking about the character. He quotes people talking about the character. Never mentions anything in the comic.
David Mascatrota here? I think you might be one of the many people who don't understand comics.
Hate fact.
Yeah. And I mean, this whole thing about like donate to me directly. It's tough to be a poor, starving, brilliant intellect, isn't it?
Well, so underappreciated.
Let him stop.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at this. It's listed under editor's picks, too. Fuck. Yeah, I'm sure you're really proud of this fucking hate-filled, poisonous pen letter diatribe, you crazy bastard. Fuck.
I'm just saying, as a death cult, they are really bad at what they're doing.
Yeah, they're not killing anyone. It's really kind of weird.
Here, I gotta cleanse my palate of this garbage. Let's go over here to this one thing before I talk about something. Okay. Alphabet Incorporated blames YouTube for a $70 billion market capital loss. Do you guys hear about this?
Yes.
Only
Did you?
briefly.
Okay. Alphabet, for those of you who don't know, is the parent company that owns a number of companies, including Google, which in turn owns YouTube. Have you ever wondered what the fuck kind of company Alphabet is that they're, because you talk about Google, right? And people think of it as like, the British East India Company, that it's a truly international global entity onto itself, but yet they're owned by Alphabet Incorporated. It's interesting.
Yep.
Google's parent company, Alphabet, has reported that the company has lost $70 billion, citing poor ad revenue growth from their online platform, YouTube.
I guess that's what happens when you start fucking with people and getting scaring away your advertisers from spending money on you. I mean,
and doing everything that the brigade mobs on Twitter tell you to do, especially when you have, and I think at the time, I'll openly admit it, I thought it was conspiratorial. The argument that the Wall Street Journal was going after PewDiePie, was going after ads running on blanket running on videos. Like, we just run ads on videos generally. Once you're monetized and that whole sort of thing.
Yeah.
And look at the questionable content that some of these ads are running on. Wall Street Journal runs an article like that. And then they specifically focus on PewDiePie, who's the largest subbed guy on YouTube. At the time he was. And he's an alt-righter and gateway to the alt-right and all this other garbage that they insinuated,
Mm-hmm.
At the time, the interpretation amongst some people was Wall Street Journal, it's not just going for a scoop, going for a gotcha moment. It's also them going after a heavy-duty competitor.
Yes.
And at the time, I thought, no. I'll admit it. I thought, that's bullshit. No.
No, yeah, to me, when I think about it, it's not the fact that they were going after PewDiePie; they were going after YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were sabotaging YouTube, not PewDiePie.
I have now
the instrument of it.
I'm strongly persuaded, though ultimately not completely convinced, but man, I'm very persuaded by it now. That argument. I think they were going after a fucking competitor. What do you mean more people are watching YouTube? Like, there's more views on YouTube than I've ever gotten on all of the articles I've ever written in my journalism career. Well, fuck that. How can we fuck with these guys? How can we take them down? Yeah, I could see it. It's not that hard to believe. According to the chief financial officer at Google, Ruth Pratt, I believe, a major factor in this revenue loss is YouTube. Quote, while YouTube clicks continue to grow at a substantial pace in the first quarter, the rate of YouTube click growth decelerated versus a strong first quarter last year, reflecting changes that we made in early 2018, which we believe are overall additive to the user and advertiser experience. Yeah, these are the the adpocalypse changes, right? The changes that we made in 2018, references by Peratt, are two announcements which seriously impacted users' experience. The first was a series of updated guidelines for users wishing to monetize their channel. These guidelines changed eligibility requirements for a channel to monetize their content, including requiring a channel to have 4,000 hours of watch time within a 12-month time frame and a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. People have asked me why I don't have super chats enabled on this channel. It's because the channel's not monetized, and it's not for lack of watch time. Thank you very much, chat. You guys watch, and I get great retention. And Jack and Quiz and myself have talked about it. We get better retention we thought, and that's why our audience is fucking awesome. Thanks, guys. But definitely falls significantly below the minimum 1,000 subscriber count. So, I can't monetize, thus no super chats. Sorry about that. Though Streamlabs is coming. It's cool. Streamlabs is coming. The second was a site-wide effort to crack
Streamlabs.
Jack has a Streamlabs, and it's in the description, but Jack should also throw it up in chat. The second was a site-wide effort to crack down on abusive, toxic, and harmful YouTube content, such as explicitly violent videos and blatantly fake news. Unfortunately, this effort had more of an apparent impact on independent creators who found that their videos could be quickly demonetized for vaguely violating the ill-defined content policy, thus resulting in many users refusing to use YouTube as a primary source of income. Yeah, no kidding. Monkey, using words like pussy is what's stopping this channel from being monetized. Just think about it. Yeah, they go on to talk about they go on to talk about Alex Jones and all the shit that happened with him there. Now, the reason why I bring it up, is all the stuff that's going on with Google and how they kind of like overreacted. Sometimes what else are they going to do? There's so much content uploaded to YouTube every minute that it's kind of difficult. And the people that are going to get caught in the mix of the net that they're trying to set, it's going to be smaller content creators, not the, shill up to Faco channels, right? Who have like millions of subs and a contact at YouTube to get a hold of to fix problems or at least address them, Meanwhile, you got, Sinatra Says getting struck left, right, and center by people who are just hate flagging him. How long do you think it's going to be before Sargon's gone? I don't think very long. I ultimately think that this smear campaign he's dealing with from the British media when running for MEP is going to ultimately result in either hard strikes on his channel for community guidelines for shit he did like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, or it's just going to get him kicked. I mean, look how fast he got kicked off of Patreon. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him get kicked. I'm just saying, I think he's high profile.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that get that, whether they deserve it or not. A lot of the people that have already been struck down did deserve it.
I'm just gonna say right now, I'm shocked that he hasn't already.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to see it, but
yeah, I'm afraid Google might be interfering with a foreign election then.
You know what? You're not wrong, but this is this is clown world, man. Quadruple standards. Fuck it, Oh, okay. Before we move on to something, I wanted to just for fun, let's talk about comic I don't understand. X-Men Phoenix. Legacy of Fire. Okay, so this is a 3-issue miniseries, and I don't understand this comic at all.
Aside from it's horribly drawn, or you don't understand the physics of that outfit.
Well, okay, the physics of the
is her maxi pad hanging out the front? What is that?
No, it's like a flap of fabric, like her thong, whatever.
What?
So
they didn't cinch the thong in the right place.
That's the
wing
on a pad, dude. That's totally the wing.
What particularly made me laugh about this is the her, what are we gonna call it? Breastplate, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Like people think there aren't. What are they? Because I remember like you and Sanguine over on the Minions channel, whoever it was, I forget, got into a debate over, and it comes up again and again whether there's, what do you call them, breast spaces in behind breastplate armor.
Boob plates, yeah.
Boob plates, like whether it's just flat that both men and women on the battlefield just wore flat plate armor because there's no advantage to having room for breasts, right? And to me, this is the ultimate. Well, obviously there is. There's not only room for breasts, there's room for nipples too. Look. Okay.
Are you getting that static from Polyquiz?
A little bit.
Oh. Yeah. It's I blame you, Jack. I blame you.
Yeah, I know. When is this issue from?
Let's find out. It'll have the 2003, looks like.
Oh.
Okay.
It looks very anime inspired too.
It does look very anime, but this is full on Marvel. This is full on X-Men. But yet, every page, y'all, every page is butts and boobs and scantily clad armor and cleavage. It's not like here and there. I mean, it's literally every fucking page.
Yeah, it makes me miss Marvel when they were good.
That spread eagle pose right up there.
Yeah.
Wish the art was a little better so it'd look a little more realistic, but I'm all about the outfit. I think it's great.
So it's
I think
going
she
on
should wear that all the time.
So they're fighting and it's happening, right? And then so on, and then whatever, but they're just practicing. It's okay. And then her butt's sore because apparently metal thongs aren't comfortable. And then so they take off, whatever. So here they are lazing in a pool with metal bikinis.
Yeah, like you do. Yeah.
And later over at Castle Pyre, so they're just hanging out in the pool, striking poses, as you do.
It's not a pool. It's clearly a sauna. And
then
it's sexy.
So in comes manga cat-eared girl, I guess. I don't know. And so there's just it keeps going, but they don't get out of the pool, and this one, she's crossing her legs and they're having their drinks and so on, and then here she is bending over in this shot because reasons.
That's how you do that in a metal thong, Polly. That's totally realistic.
I love that it's a backless metal breastplate that hangs from her neck. I love it.
It's glued in place, I'll have you know.
Oh my god. It's like so Jack Gunsky says that does not look like anime. No, it doesn't, but it's just kind of like manga inspired. I can't.
No, you know why it doesn't look like anime?
Because it's terrible.
They have lips. Anime don't have lips.
Oh yeah.
Anime
but so they got a skirt on her now. So clearly they need to start doing upskirt shots, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of a given. Did a Japanese businessman write this?
Well, because
I want to be friends with him if he did.
There's 3 issues, and all 3 issues are exactly like this. It's like, is there a story? I don't know.
I couldn't pay attention long enough.
Apparently, there were some words I didn't notice them.
Like what the fuck was going on at Marvel at this year? Like this has got to be it's just wild to me.
Is this your pitch for the week?
No,
because you're selling me on it.
I'm selling you on it. No, it was a 3-issue miniseries called X-Men Phoenix, Legacy of Fire, and it's available. You can still purchase it. I just find it baffling, and I have a copy of it and a digital copy of it. And it's
near you. Don't buy it if the pages are sticky.
Ebony Williams asked, "Sweet artwork, but goodness, what is this rated? It's rated PG plus." Since you asked, right there, PG plus.
Wings or Maxi Wings, rather.
Ranting Monkey said, "When this gets released at Walmart, she's gonna look like a stick figure."
Yeah.
I've got to ask Polly, that P on her glued her Loctited breastplate.
Yes.
Does that stand for Phoenix or Prestige?
This is Gray. This is Jean Grey. This ain't no Rachel. Rachel would never be caught dead in something like that. She's a classy woman. It's different.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. And this is
wears a spiked cat suit. Okay, got it.
Yeah. This is this is not my pitch of the week. This is a part of a thing we were talking about to bring up just like ongoing weirdness, like because we don't need to do just stories. We can do other shit. And this is a wacko comic that I came across before right before we started the stream, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. I'm gonna show this to chat. Like, this is odd. It's every page. Like normally when you'll have scantily clad hot babes in a comic book, right? There'll be a couple of shots in the comic, whatever, to kind of show them posing or looking badass or looking sexy while they're looking badass. But this is every little fucking page, man. It's like when they pitched it. Yeah.
Ryan brings up a great point in chat. Where are the cosplayers for this one?
Yeah.
Amen. Good call. Cosplayers to action.
Thoughts to me.
Man, like all of the fucking Granger and McMaster car like fucking facilities all within the mile, like, a couple mile radius around every anime convention from then on out would just be completely out of their industrial adhesive at that point. That's all I'm saying.
And I just back to it, like somebody hit me up in DMs and they said, do you not think that you're kind of minimizing a genuine like for comics you guys have by always having thumbnails with sexy comic babes? I'm like, what's not to like about sex? Like, hold on, this is the thumbnail for this week. What? Okay, yeah, she looks sexy, she's clearly physically fit, but come on, is it anything like what I just showed you guys?
Yeah.
We can appreciate all forms of art, including the female body.
Yes.
Yeah, and seriously, what I mean, people act like it's just comic books. Like, think about this for a second. Men enjoy drawing and sculpting and painting the female form. Yeah, like since they figured out that art existed. Yeah. One of the most beautiful things in the world is women. Why wouldn't you want to artistically represent them? Come on.
No one wants to look at like naked dudes. We all look like Mr. Potato Head after a while. Seriously, the older you get, the more you're going to look like a potato. It's just a fact of life.
And before we move on, I always forget to say this before. If you haven't already and you are so inclined, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening in the future, by all means, add a comment below. I get a chance, and so the other guys, to read all of them, and I get a chance to respond to most of them. And I think it's about pitch time, gentlemen. What do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would like to go first?
I'll go, since no one seems to be volunteering.
I'm going to start volunteering Jack, because I don't think he ever has said, I'll go first. Well, I'm going to volunteer you anyway at some point. So Quiz is up first.
Yeah, my pitch is today is written by Pat Mills, artist Oliver Ledroit or Ledroit, I don't know. And letterer is Jacques Collin. My pitch is here. Let me get the thing, and then the thing here, and then share. Requiem Vampire Knight. This is a comic that was published in Europe, mainly in France. I know Ledroit is a French artist, but I mean, just look at the absolute sheer insane amount of detail in comics like this. This is the reason why you can't discount European comics. They're absolutely insane. But the story is about a SS officer that was killed during the invasion into Stalingrad, and everything afterwards is his journeys into the afterlife, aka in hell. He gets sent to hell, and he is basically reborn as a vampire and is forced to fight in this horrific sort of hell environment. And one thing I definitely have to point out here that I absolutely love is the fact that these guns, these futuristic guns that they have that shoot these stakes that like vaporize people on the on contact, says Sepesh as the action word. For those that don't know, Sepesh is Vlad the Impaler's last name, and it's spelled just like that. So yeah, I say it sounds like the the discharge of a gun, Sepesh, but yeah, like the art in this comic is absolutely beautiful. I'm only gonna go so far because there is nudity in this comic, and we don't want YouTube to get a little gun shy. It's already bad enough that I showed a big old swastika in the first couple of fucking images, but oh my god!
Yeah, that's not good news, man. Do that shit on your own channel. Fuck.
Oh, fuck you. This comic is absolutely beautiful. It's got a really interesting sort of dynamic when it comes to the characters and how they interact, and like a crossover between how they are in the afterlife versus their story when they were alive. Like the main character, his name when he's reborn as a vampire is Requiem. That's the reason why it's called Requiem Vampire Night. But the his name when he was alive was Heinrich, and he had fallen in love with a Jewish woman who was later put in a concentration camp and eventually killed. And he encounters her as a revenant in the afterlife. So it's really interesting. I highly enjoy this comic, and yeah, I think that if anyone is interested in the sort of dark gothic sort of look and feel, check this comic out. It's available in trades, but only in Europe. But they have English translations online, and they actually published that comic in Heavy Metal. So
Matt Winter asks, is that comic a porno? Yeah, it was in Heavy Metal. Yes, it was a porno.
Yeah, they absolutely do have pornographic scenes in it. Yeah, they do draw some naked women. I didn't get to what was it, page 24, because you see Requiem being made into a vampire after his birth into the afterlife, where they like flens open his chest and like pull out his heart and like do some modifications and stuff like that. But the reason why is because you get to see dude dong, but in page 29 you get to see full frontal of several women. So
a little
Dude
something
dong.
for everyone.
A little something for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the art in that book. It's incredible. For those that
So
are
Quiz is pitching Dude Dong this week. Nice. Nice.
God damn it.
You know what? I'm aware of Heavy Metal Magazine, but I've never thought to actually read something from it. Like I've seen bits and pieces of it over the years, so I should check that out if only to,
I'll say Judge Dredd was originally in Heavy Metal.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Judge Dredd is made in somewhere in Europe too.
All right.
Yeah.
Jack.
Okay.
You're up, buddy.
Let me get my screen shares around.
If it works.
Okay. Boom. Oh wait, that's Thanos. Hold on.
That's a purple butt plug attempting to piece Thanos.
Grimace.
Yeah,
I am pitching Heroes at Large issue 1. This is from Antarctic Press and Rock Comics. What happened was in the 40s, some heroes were cryogenically frozen, and they've been thawed out in modern times. So this guy's their instructor trying to bring them up to speed and form them as a team. And it is one of the most politically incorrect books I've seen in a very long time. First of all, they're all shocked by the fact that there's a black guy and he gets paid. Yeah.
How dare they?
This is actually that sequence where you get paid? So here's them getting thought out. And this guy is Catman. Most of these are public domain characters, by the way. So Catman and his former sidekick, the Kitten. It's his ex-wife who was also at one time his adopted daughter. And we've got a guy whose his only name is Captain Jet. That's it. He has no secret identity. And this black guy, he is known as the White Hood. And they are they want to fight crime like they did in the old days. That's kind of the running joke, is that they're going to fight crime like, numbers rackets and drug pushers and people selling the devil's dandruff. Stuff like that. It was a surprising amount of fun. Then that's the first half of the issue. He was about to drop the N-bomb too. He said, "You're going to use the N-word, aren't you?" And he said, "No, I was going to say Negro." And he's like, "That's not any better." It was really fun. The second half of the issue, they took a Golden Age Catman and Kitten adventure, and they scrubbed all the dialogue and redid it. So it's about people doing drugs secretly, and they have to go to a strip club and investigate. and the stairs are sticky. But they took a modern take on the dialogue. It was really, really funny. So they took the classic Golden Age story, made it hilarious, took a premise that we've seen many times and made it actually funny. And I actually bought this to roast it, but I had a great time reading it. It was really funny, and I'm looking forward to the second issue. So
Nice.
if you get a chance to check it out, it's Heroes at Large issue 1 from Antarctic Press. It came out about a month or two ago, and issue 2 is actually running a little late, but I'm sure you can still get this on Antarctic's website if you want it.
It's tough not to love that parody cover. I mean,
right?
Okay, so I am up, and I got this idea from the thumbnail, actually. I'm pitching Kitty Pryde, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Nice.
3-issue miniseries written by Larry Hama. Yeah.
So it goes from G.I. Joe to Kitty Pryde, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay.
Yeah.
I can get
This
that.
is when she was still with Excalibur. It's in that timeline. So she's living on Muir Island. Muir Island. And so anyway, the concept of this story is that Kitty's just hanging out. There she is on Muir Island. And look, the helicarrier suddenly shows up. What on earth? Written by Jesus Ronaldo, and he does a good job. He's got an interesting art style. It's pre-digital art, definitely. I love the throwback look of it. It's great. So anyway, they show up. Why is S.H.I.E.L.D. there to begin with? Their computers started spitting out a bunch of information about Kitty Pryde, and they didn't know why. About Catherine Pryde, the X-Men Shadow Cat. Well, Excalibur person, Shadow Cat. And they didn't know why, and the computer is malfunctioning. They can't fly the helicarrier properly. We're just gonna go, what does this have to do with you, Kitty Pryde? This is kind of like the only lead that we have on what's going on. When they bring Kitty on board to drag it in, we're going to find out drag her along. We're going to find out what's going on. If you don't know her background story, you find out quite quickly about her martial arts background and how she was trained by somebody who was villainous at one time named Ogun. They find out that he is the one that's behind all of this, and he put that information there to drag her and get her involved. It doesn't turn out quite like he wanted, even though he thought he's master planning it all. They end up recruiting her as a temporary agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. to kind of see this thing through to the end. And so I would call it a mystery adventure that has a lot of cyber elements to it, because Kitty is very technically inclined. She's sharp as fuck with computers and software. So it ends up going very computer realm-ish. So it's got cyber elements to it. The whole thing is a mystery around what is Ogun trying to do and how does she get dragged in? And it's Kitty Pryde as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So what's she going to do fighting on behalf of this international intelligence security organization? And she, as I had said before, when Quiz asked, why do you like Kitty Pryde so much? Because she's always she's written as sort of being over her head at this time in her development, but always being willing to step up to the fight. But the fact that she is so out of her element is really charming, a really charming element to her personality, to her character. What the hell am I supposed to do here? Okay, how about this? Like, it's fun to read along with that. And now she's being thrown into the fish out of water scenario of being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. If she didn't know how to be a mutant superhero, she certainly doesn't know how to be a super spy, but handles her stuff really well. It's a fun comic. It runs 3 issues, but I checked, and it's absolutely available as a collected edition on Amazon. So by all means, if you're interested, check it out. It's just fun. And Larry Hama, I mean, come on. Larry Hama is a great writer, longtime G.I. Joe writer, written a lot of other things, and I had totally forgotten he had written this until I pulled it up to check, and there it is. Kitty's being all that she can be, leaving Excalibur for a whole new life. This is back when comics had this thing called fun. So by all means, check it out, guys. That's my pitch.
Fun. Illegal.
So there it is. That is our episode for this week. I don't know if we ran long, but if we followed the plan, we were around what, 2 hours and 30 some minutes. That's where we tend to stop.
Yeah,
We got to start cutting this thing a little bit shorter. I think we drag people on too long. But anyway, if you haven't already, by all means, like and subscribe. Share it with your friends on Twitter by sharing the link. We'd be happy if you did that to anyone else that might be interested in some fun banter, comic stuff, or pop culture, movie discussions, and so forth, and all the other jazz that we do here. If you're listening in the future, by all means, add a comment below. I love reading what you guys think and different reactions you have to the stuff, suggestions you might have. I do like getting DMs from people, reading the comments. I definitely am not a heavy Twitter DM user, so I don't get a chance to respond to them. I'm much more likely to read and respond in the comments below. So by all means, I've gotten great suggestions through DMs, but I didn't have a chance to respond to them. But I will below. So by all means, put them there if you had anything that came to mind. Jack, quiz, any final thoughts before we go?
No, not really.
Neelix is a sea monkey in space.
Jack?
What? Sea monkey.
Space leopard.
Sea monkey.
He's a space leopard. Look at him. It's clearly a space leopard.
Sea monkey.
If you could see the back of his hands, they're all spotted just like his head. You show me a sea monkey with spots, yo.
You know,
drinking problem. Look at that.
Frosted Glass said check out the title of Monkey's Monkey in the Morning. It's Monkey in the Morning. Sea monkeys.
Yep.
Motherfucker. See, whatever he does to cause my agina to light up. This is how he is. All right. Thanks, chat. Thanks for being here. And anyone listening in the future, thank you for being here as well. Have a good night, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah. I got to press stop broadcast. No, he's a space leopard there.